Oh shit. All right, y'all. Good to see everyone. With me tonight is my special guest, Lauren's only working along the night, and we're gonna do some crazy shit tonight. So let's see who's all in here, and then we'll get started. And before everyone gets started, uh, hit that like, subscribe, and the bell, y'all. And my Discord link is in the description as well. And yeah, let's see who's all in here. Yeah, well, Platty, SJ Beadwella, Ellie. I think that's all that has anything. So without
buddy.
further ado, I will bring Lauren's only working long in here. There you go. Here you go, sir. You are live with everyone.
Awesome. I was just sending you over that other Bigfoot video.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Might be in the one, but I can't find the cryptid one. I'm sending it over there with all the other stuff I sent. So. from a site called We Do It Outdoors. It's I guess it wasn't actually a a Bigfoot um channel, but they caught
Okay.
footage or whatever. Kind of interesting. I'm not saying it's absolutely real or whatever. It's but it's
Right.
interesting.
No, no,
So
yeah.
it's a couple guys that
Hey, Sean White.
do it's a couple guys do some outdoor stuff and in Ohio.
Oh
Salt
yeah.
Fork, yeah, is the area. It's in a park. And they come across like footprints at first, and then they get some interesting. I mean, they get kind of clear footage of something, So
Dude.
I sent it
You
over.
know,
It's pretty
you know,
interesting.
you and I, we basically have our like what is it? Oh shit. We basically have our own what is it called? Like our same beliefs in
Yeah,
Bigfoot because like I know you had a crazy encounter of something.
yeah. But I can't say 100% that it was a Bigfoot, right? Like
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Most likely. I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? So
brother. And
yeah, but
god damn. I can't wait to get into this.
I love it, man. Like there's
I know.
I mean, there's some stuff on YouTube that's garbage. You know what I mean? It's just awful. But once in a while you'll find something interesting, Um, but then again, like if you think about it, Majestic, it's like what would a Sasquatch look like on film? I'm like, are we prepared to see what it would look like? Would we,
I
you
I
know,
don't think I honestly don't think we are prepared to see what Bigfoot.
like right, like what wouldn't
Like if he's real, I don't think we're prepared to see
yeah,
like the actual face of
yeah,
Sasquatch.
like exactly. What wouldn't we as like consumers and viewers, what wouldn't we like criticize?
It
Like
would be
what
almost it would almost be like uh seeing like an alien, like a UFO alien, like space to space,
yeah,
like face to face, and be
yeah.
like,
Like how
what
is it
the
supposed
fuck is this shit? It's staring at me right now.
literally I've heard people say it looks too real. You know what I mean? Like this looks too real, so it can't be real. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's totally difficult. And like the great debate with the whole thing is that a video is not going to do it justice. Like you need, and it's the kill theory. Like you have to kill one to prove that it exists, or find it, or come upon a dead one, which
Right.
obviously is, impossible to do. I mean, this goes all the way back to the 60s, and this guy, Grover Krantz, is like the main guy who actually came up with the theory that Sasquatch was a Gigantopithecus. Because he
Mm-hmm.
was the first guy. And his research he's all about this creature and he believes in it and stuff. But at the same time, he's like, I'd absolutely kill one. Like, there's no doubt I would kill one for science. You'd kill the first one, and then you protect them. After that, you'd find a way to protect the species. So,
Yeah.
and all, yeah, and this is all
But then, do
predicated.
you want to be that asshole though that kills the Bigfoot?
Right. Well, believe me, dude, like you're a regular dude, and like there's a bunch of assholes out there that would love to kill a Bigfoot and become millionaires, and
Oh,
that's
dude. Yeah.
yeah, that guy Rick Dyer.
Like for me, it's like, okay, here's a hypothetical question: do you pull the trigger on Bigfoot and say we have the body, or do you see it in your scope, line of sight, uh, and then not pull the trigger, and then knowing it will live on? That's just
Yeah.
one of those. It's like
Uh,
fuck.
yeah. Like I wouldn't be able to kill it, man. And
I
here's
don't.
my
I
I just don't
would. I
you know.
would. Depends on the situation I'm in.
I listen, if something's gonna threaten my life or it's in my area, of course, like I'd kill it without what I mean? I'd kill a human if it was in my if it's threatening my life. But um like I just don't know if I could like shoot one of these things from long range. And like I don't know if you heard of Justin Smear. You heard of him in the Bigfoot?
No, I haven't.
He's the Sierra Kill Site, it's called. If you look it up, and I'll actually send you a clip of it. It's he's someone about 10, probably more than 10 years ago. He said that he was hunting with his buddy and came upon one during bear season in the Sierra Mountain, and he shot one, and he shot like a little one with it. And yeah, he claimed he had the body, and Melba Ketchum, like a DNA, researcher from Texas, said she had the blood from it and was doing tests on it, and like it became a crazy thing. If you look it up, it's crazy. Like she was outed as a lunatic actually at one point because she made some crazy claims about her being sexually assaulted by a Bigfoot. Believe it or not. So yeah.
What the hell?
So
Really?
yeah, you look it up. Her name's Melba Ketchum. She runs a DNA center in Texas, and she ended up being, not a very reputable source to do this testing. You'd have to have someone that's level-headed and, someone who's like peer reviewed, and it's very difficult to get this stuff done. And her background and her, shenanigans didn't help the fact that this dude thought he had killed a genuine Sasquatch. So
Wow.
it's an interesting story. There's actually a movie about it, and I'm just gonna send you over like a 2-minute clip of it. I'm gonna send it to the Discord, but it's it's crazy. Like they shot basically a like an hour and 45-minute reenactment interview about it, and it definitely held my interest, and that's great. But I don't know the guy. I mean, just was a total redneck. It looked like, I mean, to me, it was like he was out there trying to shoot anything he could get. Could shoot. He was shooting a bear out of season to begin with. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, so he was a poacher.
yeah, he was a poacher. He's out there with his buddy poaching stuff, and like that's why he said that he took off because the game warden was on his tail after he shot it. And then he said he shot a baby one that was bobbling around next to the dead body of the mother, and too. And it's like, and when he described what the baby one looked like, it looked like a little baby cute gorilla, and he's saying he shot it in the neck. It's like, man, like really? So, the guy's, he's out of his mind. But like I sent you, actually sent you the, and this guy's been all over the Bigfoot circuit. Like there's all sorts of like, somewhat reputable shows that these people, do. And he's been on all saying that he's the one. I mean, and there's reputable people in this, like Dr. Jeff Meldrum, who we talked about before, and even someone like the Survivor Man guy's reputable. And there's a few guys that are, Adam Davies is a reputable guy. And these people have interviewed him and talked to him, and Derek Randall's another guy. He was with the Olympic Project in Washington. He interviewed him, and I think someone in Sasquatch Chronicles talked to him. It's crazy. The whole thing is. But I sent it to the Discord so people can see. It's him telling his story about actually lining it up, shooting it. I think there might be a reenactment in it. It was the History Channel did a special on it actually. That's how big the story was. And
holy shit.
Yeah, like I actually DM'd him and talked to him after I found out what his deal was, and we talked like just the night we talked, and he was a fisherman. We talked about fishing for a little bit, and then I got into it with him, and I couldn't get any of the, I couldn't get lies out of him. I couldn't tell if he was lying or not. Like I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, he's bullshitting and blah blah. Like I don't know either way, but I think the facts are that after it happened, all of a sudden he doesn't have a body because the storm rolled in, and the DNA that he sent, he got a chip of the DNA off its back, and he sent it to Melba Ketchum, and she ended up being a crackpot or something. And like, so a bunch of things happened after he actually got the DNA from it. But his story is like, it's all entertainment. You know what I mean? It's entertainment anyways. So that's what it is. So, I mean, it's an entertaining video with this guy. It's it's worth a watch for 2 minutes, and you hear this idiot, or maybe not an idiot, tell a story about killing baby Bigfoot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
So let's get into this. Oh, where?
Yeah. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want to
Let's
hit?
do this. Mr. Ballin one.
Oh, yeah.
The basement one.
Yeah. Why don't you play that one? That's crazy. Definitely. We'll talk about it. Awesome.
It's often.
All right. See here.
This is in my home state too, by the way, and Mr. Ballin's home state. So that's interesting.
There it is.
Said that truth
I love
is
Mr.
stranger
Ballin.
than
He's
fiction.
great.
And in
Dude,
today's
Mr.
story,
Ballin is a
that's
good guy.
That's his name.
If this were a work of fiction, I think
it's
that
like
The Mr. Ballin?
readers or viewers would
Yeah.
really engage
Yeah, that's
with
his
it.
real name.
It would seem like the
Yeah, it's
author
like
was
something
trying
B.
too
Allen
hard
something.
to make it
Yeah.
scary and
And
bizarre.
think
it
it's
says
like-
Mr. Ballin.
You just
John
feel
Allen,
like,
I
yeah,
think.
too much.
I
You
think
know,
he has
this
like
is
Yeah.
not relatable.
names.
Yeah, this is not
Well, I
relatable.
thought he was trying to be gangster
it's
and be
true.
like Mr.
And if
Ballin.
you were to look it up
I
online,
was totally
the
wrong.
story, you get dozens of resources confirming
Yeah.
it's true. All the legitimate
Yeah,
media
that's a-
outlets and
that's a good
blogs,
story.
police reports, it would all show you that this really did happen. But because it's so well documented, because it's so true, the way it's presented, if you look it up, is here's what happened. Here's the answer to the mystery, because it was a mystery, but it was solved. They start with the solution, and then they tell you what led up to it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell this like a mystery. I'm going to tell you the strangeness first before I reveal what ultimately happened, because there is a solution, and it's crazy and tragic, because this story I'm going to share with you today is actually the prequel to a whole host of horrible things that happened to a town. Before we get into today's story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format like I'm promising to do today, then you've come to the right channel, because that's all I do, and I upload 3 to 4 times a week. And so if that's your deal, I would ask you to gently pulverize the like button and then subscribe to my channel and turn on all post notifications so you don't miss any of those 3 to 4 weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's story. In 1986, Annie and Jessica Andrews, who are teenage sisters, unfortunately lose their mother to cancer. It was a relatively abrupt death. It caught the family by surprise, and so following her death, Annie and Jessica lived full-time with their father, Brian Andrews. Now, Brian worked a lot, but with the death of his wife, he had to work even more to make sure he was bringing home enough of an income to provide for his 2 daughters. Annie and Jessica were hit very hard by the loss of their mother. They were very close with her, and with their father being gone so much, those two were left alone a lot at the house and left alone with their thoughts, and they missed their mom. And so one night when Brian was out at work, the girls decide to use a Ouija board and to try to contact their mother. And they would even admit that they didn't really expect anything to happen. They just wanted some sort of connection to their mother, who they missed terribly. So they went down in the basement, they got out the Ouija board, and they have like a seance. They didn't really do much research into how to do it or what to do. They basically just started, kind of asking if their mother was here, could she give them some sign? And so they have this kind of Ouija board seance, and nothing comes of it. Brian is not home for this. Their father's not home, and it's just those two. And after, a couple of hours of doing this seance, they ultimately put it away. And in a way, it was kind of a cathartic experience that they got to, think about their mom really intently and kind of think maybe she could be with them right then. And in many ways, the seance was a success because it made them feel closer to their mom, even if it was just for a moment and if it was artificial. So they put the Ouija board away, and the girls go upstairs, and they're kind of having a low-key night, and ultimately decide to go to bed. Now, their father has not come home yet, so just the girls. They're used to this. This is how a lot of nights went. And as they're laying in bed, they both start hearing tapping sounds. Now, they're in separate rooms, and they heard the same tapping sounds, and in fact, Jessica would get up and come into Annie's room and say, "Hey, do you hear the tapping sound on the walls?" And Annie's like, "Yeah, I hear it too." And they're listening, and there's silence, and you hear this kind of like tapping sound in the walls. They didn't know what it was. They'd never heard it before. And the girls, again, they miss their mother so terribly, and they were basically hoping that it was their mom. They knew it couldn't be, but they were hoping it was. And so they're like, it's Mom. Mom's trying to get in touch with us. She's making sounds to get in touch with us. It's from the seance. It must have worked. And they start asking their mother questions like, are you here with us right now? And can you show yourself to us? And, you know, are you looking after us? Just like questions that you would imagine people might ask if they thought, you know, the ghost of a loved one was in the room with them. And so it was scary, but it was also kind of reassuring that you have, you know, what they believed to be the spirit of their mother looking out for them. And when their father finally came home that night, the tapping at this point had stopped, and they rushed to tell their father about the tapping they heard. And they were happy about it. They weren't scared about it. They were happy about it. And, you know, Brian, he's worked all day, and he's grieving the loss of his wife, and he thinks that his daughters are making it up, especially because they told him about the Ouija board. And he's just thinking to himself, you know, they're grieving. They're struggling with the loss of their mother. They're grieving. And, you know, he felt really bad for them. And he even considered that first night putting them into therapy. Not because he was upset with them or anything, but because he's like, this is a manifestation of grief. But he ultimately said, look, guys, just go back to bed. You know, I'm sure she's looking out for us. Go to bed. You know, we'll talk about this tomorrow. And so the girls went back to their rooms. Brian didn't think much of it. You know, he was just thinking, should I bring the girls to grief counseling, something like that. And everybody goes to bed. Now, this tapping would persist for several days. The tapping got so frequent that it actually started disturbing the girls' sleep. And every time they would yell to their father to come in and check, the tapping would stop. And so it was like kind of driving them crazy. And then when they would all leave the house during the day and the evening, whenever, anytime the house was empty. And so they would come back to the house and, you know, things would be moved, you know, furniture would be moved slightly out of position. Some of the silverware had been moved around, just little things all over the house. And, you know, Annie and Jessica's father is quick to say, you know, guys, I know this is you. I know you miss your mom, and I know you want this to be real, that you want your mom to be here with us right now, but she's not. And you gotta stop this whole ghost thing. You gotta stop moving the furniture around. This is not healthy. You know, if this continues, I am gonna ask that you guys start seeing a grief counselor. And the girls were insistent that it was not them. And the fact that their father didn't believe them and they knew it wasn't them, it put them in a really bad spot because they felt totally alone, scared to be in their house, because now it didn't really feel like their mother. It felt like something screwing with them. And that's not something their mother would do. And so they're thinking that this is like an evil ghost that they've unlocked through that Ouija board seance. And it's now terrorizing them. And there's nothing they can do because their father doesn't believe them. And it's just consistently happening. They don't know what to do. One evening in January of 1987, the girls were together in the front room of their house, and they started hearing tapping sounds again. And so they hear this tapping sound not coming from the walls, but coming from the basement. And suddenly they feel, you know, some confidence, like they're going to go down and confront this thing because their father doesn't believe them. They don't know what to do, so they're just going to go face this thing head on. So they head right downstairs into the basement, and there's nothing. The tapping stops as soon as they're down there, and they can't find anything. As they turn to go back upstairs, feeling a little bit silly that they're going to go fight this ghost, they notice writing in red that says, "Come find me, I'm in your closet." And they're horrified. Because now this is like confirmation that this thing is screwing with them. It's not their mother. And it's now interacted outside of just tapping. It's actually writing on the walls. And so the girls run out of the house because this feels like a threat. They felt threatened by everything that was happening before, but it was almost like the writing on the wall was a step over the line. This felt like a direct, intentional threat towards the girls. Kind of
at that point, I just checked out.
Absolutely taunting them and scaring them. So they run out of the house. Their father was not there.
Jesus
he was working.
Christ.
And so the girls ran next door to their neighbors and said, you know, can we stay with you for a minute? Something
This
weird's
is like a
happening in the
movie.
house.
Like they could make a movie
Began
out
to
of
get
it.
into the weird writing on the walls, but
Oh my
didn't really
God.
go into too much detail. And the neighbor said, we're just going to wait for your father to come home before we do anything. And so the girls stay with the neighbor. Brian comes home. As soon as they see Brian pull in the driveway, they flag him down. He comes over to the neighbors. Neighbor pulls Brian aside and says, here's what happened. They came over here. The girls are hysterical, and they tell their dad that there's writing inside the house. And so Brian, his first reaction is, this is out of control now, guys. This is too much. He goes over, though, with them to the house, and he goes into the basement, and he sees the writing on the wall. And his thought is like, now you guys are, defacing our property to live out this kind of fantasy. And so this for him was the line in the sand that they've now crossed. It's now getting totally unhealthy, and he ordered them to go see grief counseling. So that actually began at this point. Several weeks would go by with no tapping, no anything, just silence in the house. It was almost like whatever this was had stopped. Then one night when Brian is working late into the night once again, and the girls are alone,
for that.
they're in the front room together, and they're just sitting there. It's been nice having a couple weeks without any strangeness in the house, and they start hearing tapping from somewhere else in the house. And they get up, they kind of creep their way over to where they think they're hearing it, and it's coming from Annie's bedroom. When they go into Annie's bedroom, written on the walls is, "I'm back, find me if you can." Just like the last time they saw writing on the wall, they run out of the house. They flee the house, they go to the same neighbor's house, and they say, "It happened again. You gotta believe me, it happened again." The neighbor says, "Stay with me, we'll wait for your father again." Father comes home, same situation plays out. He gets flagged over to the neighbor's house. The neighbor says, "Hey, they're back again," with the writing on the wall. And Brian's mad. And he says to the girls, like, "I put you in counseling. I'm telling you to stop doing this. Like, this isn't okay. It's not healthy." And he tells the girls and the neighbor to stay here. I'm going to go in that house, and I'm going to search the house top to bottom to show you that there's nothing to be afraid of in that house. And so he goes back to his own house, and when he opens the door, the house is in total disarray. It's like someone had ransacked the house. And he's thinking to himself, the girls didn't do this. Someone else did this. And so now he's on edge. And he walks through the house, he's not hearing anything, and he goes up to Annie's bedroom, and he sees the writing on the wall. And then he looks, he sees a man standing in the closet wearing women's clothes, which would turn out to be his dead wife's clothes, wearing a wig, carrying a hatchet. And this man in a dress is staring at Brian, and Brian's startled. The guy starts running out. Brian tries to grapple and fight with him, but the man in the dress manages to run past Brian out into the rest of the house. Brian is like so caught off guard because this guy's got a hatchet. He doesn't know what he's going to do. He starts chasing after him, but the guy's gone. Brian's looking in his house, but finally Brian just leaves the house because this guy's got a hatchet. He runs outside, he runs over to his neighbor's house, and he's like, "Call 911, there's somebody in the house." He makes sure his girls are okay, he stays with his neighbor, calls the police. The police go in, and they look everywhere, and they can't find anything. And they say to Brian, like, "I'm sure someone was here. It's a very convincing story you've just told, but they're not here now. And unfortunately, all we can do is tell you, you probably should not be here right now until whoever this was is caught. And you should stay with some relatives. We'll watch the house, we'll see if anybody else comes back, but there's not much we can do." And so unfortunately, the girls and the father are left with no answer to what was going on or who this person was. And Brian's thinking to himself, like, how did he get away? How did this guy in the dress get away? Like, how did that happen? I mean, they're searching the neighborhoods. He's wearing a pretty distinctive outfit. How did he get away? And so for 2 weeks, Brian and his daughter stayed with some family. But in those 2 weeks, no one found out who this guy in the dress was. I mean, Brian and the girls are traumatized. Brian feels like this horrible father, that I've left my girls alone in the house over and over and over again with some crazy person with an axe in my house. I never believed them. What could have happened to them? It would have been my fault. And so it's a horrible time period. The girls are traumatized because now they realize they've been interacting with some crazy person in a dress with an axe in their walls. And it's just this horrible situation. But after 2 weeks, it's tough living with another family member. It's a tight place they're staying. And they decide, you know what? At this point, whoever that guy was, he must have ran away. We got police watching the house. Let's just go home. Let's just go home. we'll lock everything up. We'll get a security system. There's police watching the house. Let's just go home. And so they decide, okay, let's pack up and head home. And so as Brian is driving up his street, he looks at his house and he can see that there's a light on in the second floor. And he's thinking to himself, like, I thought the police were just watching it from the outside and just kind of patrolling the neighborhood. I didn't know there'd be police inside my house. And as he's looking up at the window, about to pull into his driveway, he sees the guy in the dress suddenly walk across the window. He sees him clear as day. So he stops what he's doing and he calls the police. Police are there in a second. The house is surrounded. So with the house surrounded, police finally go inside. Now, no one's been inside the house since Brian and the girls left. They locked it up and they were monitoring it. There was no police inside the house. There was nobody inside the house, supposedly. The police, when they open up the door and go inside, the first thing they notice is not only is all the furniture flipped upside down and moved all over the place, but there are pennies glued to the ceiling. All these pennies glued to the ceiling. And there's red writing all over the house, on all the walls and weird places, just writing, strange cryptic writing. But they search the house and they don't find anything. But one of the officers who was down in the basement at one point noticed that there was a little piece of wood covering up what looked like a crawl space behind the washer and dryer. And he found that he could very easily move aside the washer and the dryer, and there was this board that when he pulled it aside, it was the entrance to a crawl space. In the crawl space, they find that someone had kind of burrowed between all of the insulation all around the house into all the walls, and there were these little peepholes in all the different rooms that whoever was in the crawl space could look into any room at any given time. And as they're searching this intricate crawl space that spanned the whole house, they find Danny LaPlante, who was this totally deranged teenager who had briefly dated Annie. Annie had broken it off with him, and so he had snuck into their house and had been living in their walls, listening to their conversations, had heard about Annie's mother passing away, and had kind of adopted this "I'm gonna pretend to be your dead mother" routine, and had been writing in ketchup on the walls and tapping it. He had watched them do the seance, and so he had all this stuff to work with to really spook them, and had been sneaking out and moving furniture around and sneaking back into the walls for months. And that's not even the worst of it. Danny LaPlante, after he was brought out of the crawl space, was arrested and then put into a juvenile detention center. And then when he got out of the detention center, later in 1987, for reasons that no one understands, I don't even think Danny understands, he broke into someone's house and murdered almost an entire family in cold blood.
God damn.
I don't know about you guys, but the idea of somebody living in my walls for 2 months doing anything is horrifying, let alone being Danny LaPlante, the psychopath that he was. But what really trips me out is when the police went in that second turn, when they had the house surrounded, and they find pennies glued to the ceiling and writing on the wall, and then they find him in this intricate crawl space. Like, that's straight out of a horror movie that wouldn't be scary because it's just too many weird elements. But it happened. And I just think about the trauma that the Andrews family undoubtedly has suffered, not only the loss of their wife, their mother, but imagining what could have happened to them, because Danny would go on to murder almost an entire family. And it just as easily could have been them. And so I would imagine I'd be shocked if they ever got over it. That's a deep-seated trauma that, I can only hope that they were able to recover from. If you enjoyed this story and you want more content like this, if you would, please gently pulverize the like button, and then also subscribe to my channel and turn on all post notifications so you don't miss my weekly 3 to 4 video uploads. If you want to get in touch with me, message me on Instagram. My handle is johnballin416. I'm also very active on TikTok. My handle is Mr. Ballin, same as my YouTube channel. And I go live 3-4 times a week on TikTok as well. So I hope to read your comments and see you on other platforms. And until next time, that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much. Take care.
God damn, that was a fucking wild story.
That is a crazy story, man. That's something that gives you nightmares, dude.
Let's see what else we can get into.
I sent you, can you hear me?
What's up? Yeah.
All right, yeah. I sent you a bear attack one. I don't know if you did it yet. Yeah, I know you did a bear attack, but did you do the Jeremy Evans one
I probably
where
have
he
at
wrote a
some
note?
point.
Yeah, he's the one that wrote the note when he thought he was gonna die, and he ended up living. Pretty good one. You a few other things there too. Discord.
Let's see.
Do whatever you want, brother.
Yeah. Let's see here.
You want to do the serial killer, Todd
Yeah.
Cohelp? That might be
Yeah.
interesting.
Hey, which
We can
one?
either the
Where's
video is
that
real
one?
short. We can play the video, or we can talk about it, or however you want to do it.
Yeah.
I
Which one
can.
is it?
The it should be in True Crime. Todd Cohelp, I think his name is.
Let's see. Fuck.
See where I sent it. Some of your things weren't popping up. I think I definitely sent it to you.
Fuck.
You didn't
Hey,
see it
let's
in
do.
there?
No. Can we?
I
Let's
can.
jump to this ring one.
Which one is it? Oh
The
yeah, the
man
door,
Yeah.
the creep. Yeah. That's a short. That's a
Yeah.
good one. That's a short one. It's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's creepy as shit. Like, imagine this, dude. Imagine this guy at your door.
We continue to follow the threats made on a doorbell camera. It played out on the doorstep of a downtown home. This stranger at the door becoming increasingly more aggravated until he laid down some very disturbing threats.
I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? Are you positive?
I'm going to rape and kill the girl that's on the other side of this door when she lets me in. I want to rape her and kill her because I have a knife and a gun.
I want to rape her and kill her. That's what he said. As Fox 5 reporter Drew Andre found, neighbors say they've been on edge since before this video surfaced.
It's insane, man.
It's a little scary. Literally too close to home.
Wow. Yeah, no, this is crazy. I'm shocked.
Have you ever seen anything like that?
I haven't, no.
More than 78,000 people have shared the video on Facebook. One person who saw the disturbing encounter online was able to identify the bearded man, and early this morning, police arrested him for aggravated stalking and coercion. A shocking video, but some neighbors in this downtown neighborhood aren't as shocked as you may think.
There's been times trying to get my kids out to go to school in the mornings, and there's this guy just standing in front of my house in the middle of the street, screaming at nothing at the top of his lungs. And there's been other times, and I'm hearing somebody walking down the street shooting off a gun in the air.
Just a few blocks away from this chilling encounter, Hunt Ridge Circle Park remains closed like it has been for several years. Neighbors tell us that the people that used to frequent this park have now wandered into their neighborhood.
I feel like it's gotten a lot worse. I feel like the park was really a place for the homeless to have a place to relax, really, and now they have nowhere to go, and so they end up in our neighborhoods.
Many in the neighborhood have cameras and gated fences. A person who lives at the home told me off camera they haven't had much sleep since the incident and just shared the video so neighbors could be on high alert.
Like a lot more leery about seeing the people that I see walking down the street.
Reporting downtown, Drew Andre, Fox 5 News, local, Las Vegas.
Jesus,
Yeah, man.
that
Imagine
dude has a
that.
fucking mental problem, bro.
Like, how do you, like, if you have
Like,
a weapon in the house?
Go up to someone and be like,
Yep.
they'd be like,
Dude,
oh,
and
by
he
the
had-
way, I'm gonna grape you and then murder you.
He had that 1,000-yard stare in his eye. You know what I mean? Like,
Literally
he
does.
wasn't. Yeah, he's a problem. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
Like a legit problem.
Yeah, I sent you over the Todd Cohelp thing on
Okay,
True Crime. It's a short one. It's just a lady talking about it. I can get into the history of it after you play the video.
Yeah, perfect.
So, cool. Yeah, just let it play and then. But this guy's he's under the radar, like serial killer who like more people should know about.
Oh, this guy in the blue shirt.
Last fall, Todd Kohlhepp was arrested after a woman was
this guy's bad news.
Good deal.
found chained in a container on his property. She told police that her boyfriend had been killed and that this woman was next. She was Kohlhepp's girlfriend.
And
She tells her Megan
Kayla
Alexander
involved
not
in it
only
too,
did she
so.
not know she was dating a serial killer, it turns out she lent him the money he needed to buy that container.
This woman had no idea.
What do they say? Everyone in their lifetime will have a run-in with a serial killer, I think they said. At least once.
Yeah, like bumping into him, like whatever, like
Yeah.
crazy.
This is fucking fuck.
That
Oh,
the
man,
man
I've
she
got
was
goosebumps
having an
just thinking
affair
of
with
that.
was one of America's
Yeah,
most
yeah.
notorious serial killers.
This guy is
There was always something that
especially
sat
heinous. this
uneasy
guy.
with me about him, and I just really couldn't put my finger on it.
Holly Udy is still coming to terms with the terrifying trail of death left by the man she was in
I'll give you
love
some of the
with
details
for
when I
10
go over.
years. Todd Kohlhepp. You may remember Kohlhepp. He's the real estate broker from Spartanburg, South Carolina, whose sick crime spree stunned the nation. Kohlhepp was arrested last November after a woman he kidnapped was found chained by the neck inside a
Amazon guy.
storage container on his
Yeah.
property.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna get you out of there, okay?
Oh yeah, they did a Mr. Ballin video on this guy. That's how I
Like
knew
him?
about this guy. Yeah.
Disgusting. I mean, it was
He did
sickening.
it in,
Holly is now revealing her relationship with
Show like
Kohlhepp
Mr.
for the
Ball's
first time.
that
What
chapter.
was
I
it
don't know
about
if you heard of
Todd
it.
that made you want to be involved
no.
with him? He
It's really
gave me a lot
good.
of
I mean,
attention,
some of the people in the room
and
probably heard
He
about
made
it.
me feel like I was important.
Really good.
Holly, who was married, met the clean-cut broker in 2006 and started an affair. She never suspected that he had already murdered 4
Glad he
innocent
like
people.
said something about that chapter. That
It was
chapter's
Holly
really good.
who actually loaned
Recommend it.
Kohlhepp the money to buy.
Wasn't it like two teen couples that went to his like property or something like that, and then they ended up going missing?
It happened twice with two
Yeah.
couples. Yep.
The
Yeah,
container.
and that's not the only
Kohlhepp
thing.
told Holly that he needed the container to store
It's really,
supplies. He had it delivered here to
it's
this remote
crazy.
property he owned.
He,
95 acres
I'll
of
kinda get
mostly
into it if you
dense
want me to.
forest, miles from
Yeah, right after the video.
civilization. He put shelving in it and stocked it with canned food and cases of water. Holly couldn't have known that he was turning the container she helped him buy into a prison. That container was way, way back there in the woods. A drone flying above gave us a good perspective of Kohlhepp's property.
The container was right here.
I mean, that is completely surrounded by woods. You can't hear anything if you're back here. She was completely isolated.
Yes.
You actually went into the container.
Yes.
Were you suspicious at all when you were in there?
No, it was simply storage. It was all storage.
Did you ever notice anything, the way he was arranging it, about what it was going to be used for in the future?
No.
When cops rescued Kayla Brown in that storage container, she told them what Kohlhepp had done to her boyfriend, Charlie Carver.
Todd Kohlhepp shot Charlie Carver 3 times in the chest, wrapped him in a blue tarp, put him in the bucket of the tractor. He says he's dead and buried.
As Kayla was being transported to the hospital, she made this stunning statement.
Some girl named Holly, he's supposedly planning to kill her.
My mouth fell open. The first time I heard it, I stopped and I rewinded and I listened to it again.
Some girl named Holly, he's supposedly planning to kill her.
And yes, she did just say my name. She just said my name.
Holly admitted the affair to her husband. They are now having a baby. She can't help but feel she could have been Kohlhepp's next victim.
It's overwhelming looking at it and trying to put myself in Kayla's shoes. I know I wouldn't have survived. I know I wouldn't have. Todd Kohlhepp avoided the death penalty by pleading guilty to 7 counts of murder as well as kidnapping. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Jesus. Oh shit. All right.
He's a barrel of sunshine. This guy.
Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah, what was going on with him, dude? He got arrested for rape when he was a kid. He was peeping at this neighbor chick that he had, and he somehow tricked her into coming over to her house, and he raped her at gunpoint. and he did like 15 years for that, and he got out. Yeah, he got out in I want to say like 2003, and
Okay.
he was, he started a real estate business. He lied on his applications. He lied about a bunch of stuff. He started becoming a big, real estate guy in that area. And he went into this Supercross place one day, and he bought a bike, trying to look cool. And I guess he was trying to get on the thing inside the store, and he fell off of it. And people were laughing at him and blah, blah, blah. So he went to take the bike back and get his money back, and they wouldn't let him. They gave him some shit. And he basically was like, yeah, you'll see me. And they're like, yeah, whatever, dude. So he went back there like a month later. There was 4 employees in there, including the owner's cousin. They owned the business together. A worker out back, and his mother was working the front desk. And this jerk went in there and shot all of them. Shot the mother right in the face first, and then went back in there and started shooting. Yeah, and but he got away with that. Okay, that happened in like 2003, and he got away with it. And then he was trying to pick up like he was going around town to the bad parts of town looking for crackhead, and he'd find couples. Right? He literally would find dope heads and shit, and he'd be like, "Hey, I own property. Do you guys want to clean the bathrooms and shit? I'll give you dope money or whatever you need." And so he did that, and he brought like one of the girls back and with his guy, and he killed both of them, killed the girl and her boyfriend, and then he had kidnapped this Kayla girl with her friend.
God.
And he shot Charlie in front of her, and when but he was telling everybody. And this was a thing, I watched the documentary. He was telling everybody that he was a spy, and he worked for the government, and he had all these crazy stories. And he always had a gun on him and shit. He was that kind of dude. And but like you said, he was the Amazon guy too. He was going on Amazon and reviewing like the tools he used to dig holes for bodies and shit.
They'd be like, "Oh yeah, this shovel's perfect. This is how perfect you can use this shovel for burying a body." Or like this saw is perfect for sawing up like this type of like arm or like dismembering someone.
He had a hammer, dude. He said the hammer was perfect for opening the back of someone's head. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like it was amazing.
You can run up and bash someone's head in with it.
Yeah.
Oh my
God. Someone reported that too. Someone reported the Amazon stuff.
Yeah, I wish I could find that Mr. Ballin video.
He had one. Like Mr. Ballin does do the best shit, man. He really does.
He really does.
I wait for like besides the Lauren stuff, like you guys and like the rooms and stuff. Like I'll get into the true crime and Mr. Ballin, and I'm telling you that chapter, the kid Mike who does it, he's really good. You gotta, really good.
If anyone wants to see Mr. Ballin's video of it, I'll post a link.
Yeah, that's good.
Somewhere. Right here.
Some more stuff too.
Yeah, let's get into some cryptid shit.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So I sent you a few things. I sent you that Bigfoot video. It's a long video. I don't know if you want to get into the point where they show Bigfoot on the drone and stuff. I sent it. But it's a clear video. It's a black and I think kind of grayish Bigfoot. Ohio is absolutely a hotbed for these things. I didn't know it until recently. There's a lot of people in Ohio, and they call it the Ohio Grassman, obviously, but they love it out there, man.
Like the Ohio Grassman, they're supposed to be like pretty like giants almost, like compared to some of the other.
Yep.
They're known for being like over I think like 12 feet or shit like that.
Like they it's funny, like we said,
which is crazy to me because like I said, I'm up in a 20-foot deer stand, and that some bitch could probably grab me out of it if it wanted to.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's funny you say that because there's stories of hunters And you're 20 feet up in the air, and one hunter said he had a Bigfoot like grabbing at his boot.
Yeah, I
You
think
know,
I think I've read something like
yeah,
I'm really weird, not weird, but like ever so often I always hop onto the Bigfoot, like the BFRO, and
yeah, the research
it,
group. Yeah, I do the same thing.
and I'll look at the maps, and sometimes I'll try to, and because they list them as classes, and usually I'll always try to find like a class A or like a class B one.
Yep.
Just to see, just like and some of them are like, there's a couple of them that are hunters. Like there was one in Missouri that kind of had me chill. That gave me chills actually.
Well, yeah, it's funny. You're from there, and like I thought about it. There's a like that's an area for it, man. Like they have
Well, that
a name
Ozark,
for it.
that whole
Yeah.
Ozark Mountain area. Good God,
Listen,
it's
yeah.
hardly ever explored there, and people that do explore there are moonshiners.
Yeah,
So,
man. I'll tell you, dude. Like you have we could do a whole show and just Appalachian Trail stories. Like it's crazy. Like
yeah.
there's reports of like feral humans out there, and
Yeah,
like
the like especially in the I've heard like around the Appalachian Trail about the feral humans stuff.
yeah, that's scary as shit. Like that is
Even
really scary.
like the Mr. Ballin did one, except this one was in California, and this guy
Yep.
was walking like the state of California, basically was hiking the trail that goes through like all of California, and it was like the
Yep.
last section.
Was some guy with flying? Was that the one?
Yeah. And he was just getting stalked like constantly, like for his like last half until the end.
Yeah.
Like he was
Like,
just
was it-
constantly getting stalked by this like feral couple.
Horrifying story. That was
Dude,
horrifying.
when I heard that, I'm getting goosebumps right now. This thing, actually, I got the chill going up my spine.
Yeah.
Talking about it.
Yeah, the way it translated the story, man, it was like it was a game to the guy. Like
Yeah, Bell's
he was
Canyon.
having. Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, that's a
Dude, yeah.
those stories are terrifying. Like there's a video on YouTube, and it was like this girl does like camping from her it's a Bronco or whatever, and she does camping from it, and she videos it and shows people like how to do it and stuff. And there was one night she was videoing herself, and just picture this: you're out in the middle of nowhere. There's no noise around you at all, and like all of a sudden, she's talking. You just hear like someone tapping on your window in the middle of nowhere. That is horrible. Like that.
That is
and,
horrible. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh God damn.
And she was like, she goes, hello, hello, and then she heard footsteps, man, and then like she goes, oh, it was someone they left, and then she tried to fall back asleep, and the same thing happened, and then the guy made a noise. He was like trying to see if she was awake, so he like mumbled something, and she's like, go away, dude. I was horrified watching it, horrified. Like if it wasn't real, they did a great job of building the tension with it, because it was scary as shit, man. Like it's frightening. It really is. And
I got
like,
a request first before we do our cryptid stuff. Let's play a Mr. Ballin Bell's Canyon per
let's do it.
Mr. Turd Ferguson's request.
Yeah,
No problemo.
I
Sorry,
love
my
Mr. Ball. All
my
night.
cat is being talkative right now.
It's all good.
Here we go.
Today, I'm going to share 3 stories that scared me. But before we get into those stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right channel, because that's all we do, and we upload 3 or 4 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please kidnap the like button, tie them up, and then forcibly brush their teeth, and then make them drink orange juice afterwards. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's stories.
my favorite.
In 2010, Kayla was a senior
Yeah,
at
good,
the University of
fine.
California, Santa Barbara, a big party school. And one Friday evening,
so
Kayla
great,
and her
Kayla.
friends were at a big party, and Kayla was having a great time, but she was starting to feel really tired. And so she asked her friends if maybe they wanted to leave early, but none of them did. And so Kayla left on her own. Luckily, her house was just down the road, and so she was at her front door in a matter of minutes. That night, her two roommates, who were also college seniors, had decided to stay in and just have a nice night with a couple of friends having some wine. And so when Kayla walked inside, she happened to turn to the right, and she looked on the closest wall where there was a sofa, and she saw there was a guy laying there with a blanket up to his chin, and his eyes were wide open. She didn't recognize him, but he was staring at her, and she figured, oh, he must be a friend of her roommates. But as she walked across the room, she kind of glanced back at him, and he had pulled the covers down slightly, and he had lifted his head up, and he was staring at her kind of menacingly. And so Kayla got a really bad vibe from this guy and just kind of hustled into her room, shut the door behind her, and locked it, something she never did. And a few minutes later, she was in her bed and she was passed out. A couple of hours later, she woke up to what sounded like tapping on wood. And so she sat up in her bed and she's kind of looking around. She had a couple drinks the night before and she's half asleep, so she's a bit disoriented. But finally, when she gets her bearings, she realizes this tapping sound is the sound of someone drumming their fingers on the outside of her door. And so she's looking at her door, wondering who would be doing that. And then all of a sudden, the drumming stops and it's replaced by the sound of this person scratching on the outside of the door. And so now Kayla's thinking, okay, is this guy who was out on that couch, is he playing a joke on me? And so she's sitting there wondering if she should just go over there and open the door and tell him to stop. But before she gets out of her bed, the scratching gets louder and louder and louder until it's so loud that it's kind of menacing. And so Kayla decides she's not going to go out there. And so instead, she pulls out her phone and she texts her roommate and says, hey, can you please come out in the living room and take care of your friend who's harassing me? But she doesn't get a response from that roommate, and the scratching is just still loud as ever. And so she texts her other roommate the same message, come out and take care of your buddy here. But again, she doesn't get a response. And now the scratching on the door has stopped, and it's been replaced by jiggling of her doorknob. And so now Kayla is just mad because this is obviously a prank and it's a dumb prank. And so she yells out, hey, stop! But it doesn't do anything. And so now Kayla's like, okay, I gotta call my roommates, wake them up, they'll come out and they'll handle it. And so she calls one of her roommates, and they do pick up this time. And Kayla angrily tells them, hey, come out into the living room and tell your friend to knock it off. He's totally harassing me. And her roommate was confused. She's trying to make sense of what Kayla's saying, and she says, Kayla, what are you talking about? What friend are you talking about? And Kayla says, the guy sleeping on the couch. The guy in our living room sleeping on the couch. And her roommate said, Kayla, we didn't have anybody over last night. Is somebody out there? You need to call the police. Kayla's adrenaline surged, and she very calmly told her roommate, lock your door immediately. And right then she noticed the jiggling of her doorknob and the scratching, and it all stopped. And Kayla's wondering, where did this guy go? And then after a couple of seconds, she heard extremely loud banging coming from across the house where her two roommates shared a room. And it was the sound of this guy trying to smash down their door. And so Kayla's screaming, her roommates are screaming. Kayla manages to dial up 911, and before long there are sirens outside, and Kayla hears the sound of this guy run across the house, and she hears the sliding door open and shut. The police come inside, they search the property, and there's no sign of this guy, and so Kayla and the roommates come outside, they talk to the police, and the police bring them over to their side door, and they show them on the outside there was all sorts of scratch marks all over the doorknob and right around the latch. And they said it looks like he was able to jimmy his way into your house through this door. And so then they asked the girls to give their statement about what happened, and they started with Kayla. They went over to her bedroom door so she could demonstrate what happened, and that's when they noticed there were all these scratch marks and gouge marks all over the outside of her bedroom door, and all over the doorknob, and all over the latch. And on the ground was a pair of scissors and a knife. And the police told Kayla that it looks like he used those scissors and that knife to open up the side door, and he was trying to use those tools again to open up her door, but for whatever reason, he just couldn't do it. They told Kayla that most likely when she went in the front door, she caught this guy off guard. Maybe he was trying to rob the place, maybe he had just broken in, but either way, Kayla got in and ruined his plans. And so he leapt onto that sofa, the one against that inner wall, to kind of tuck himself away in hopes that maybe Kayla wouldn't look over and see him. And they told her that most likely when she made eye contact with him, she became a witness and therefore a target of opportunity. And had she not locked her door, who knows what would have happened. In 2004, 16-year-old Misty Tasker was a typical American teenager living in Live Oak, Florida, which is a small rural town right in the middle of the state. One Saturday evening in January, she and her mother attended a church service. Afterwards, they hopped in her mother's truck and they got on the country highway and began making their way home. Their house was just 20 minutes down this highway. It was a straight shot. And this highway was pretty desolate. There were no street lights. It was actually a dirt road despite being a highway. And it was just thick forest on both sides of the road the entire way. There were no buildings or houses between the church and their neighborhood. Misty's mother was already a very anxious driver who would keep both hands on the wheel. She would sit up and kind of hunch over the wheel and keep her eyes intently focused on the road. But at night, her driving anxiety would shoot through the roof because she had really bad eyesight. And so she would go to great lengths to not drive at night to avoid that high level of anxiety. But the church service they had just come from had run a little bit long, and so now Misty's mother is driving with the sun starting to set, and she's going as fast as she can to try to get home before it gets too dark. And so as they're bombing down this road at about 55 miles an hour, despite it being about a 40-mile-per-hour zone, Misty, who's in the passenger seat, just happens to look over at her mother for no particular reason. And as she's looking at her, she notices out her mother's window, it looks like there's a little girl sitting on the side of the road. What's a child doing out here in the middle of nowhere? She says to her mom, I think I just saw a little girl. And Misty's mother, who's high up on the wheel, she did not hear Misty the first time. She's just focused on driving and trying to get home. And so Misty says again, I think I just saw a little girl. We need to go back. I don't know what she's doing, but I feel like we need to go back and make sure she's okay. And so Misty's mom looks over at her and she's not prepared to turn the car around. That means staying out later, and it means she's gonna be driving in even darker conditions. And so she's like, did you really see someone? Because we gotta get home. And Misty's like, Mom, I'm pretty sure I saw a little girl. We have to go back. And so finally, Misty's mother, she's very annoyed, but she stops the car, she does a 3-point turn, and she begins driving back up the road where they came from towards this girl. Now, they had only made it about a half mile from where Misty believed she had seen this girl. And so pretty quickly, they slowed down because Misty said, I think she's in this area, and they both began scanning the right side of the road because that's where she's gonna be now that they've turned around. Now, it was starting to get very dark outside, but there was enough light and they had headlights. They were pretty confident they'd be able to spot this girl. And so as they're slow rolling down the road, they both see this girl a little ways up on the right-hand side. Her back was to the road. She had her knees tucked up to her chest and she was rocking back and forth. Misty's mother made a comment that it was a little bit surprising that this girl was out here. I mean, there's really nothing around here. There's no houses, there's no buildings, there's no trails to be walking in this forest on either side. It was just kind of thick forest. And so she just thought it was very strange that this girl would even be out here, especially because there's not any traffic on this road. And so Misty's mother began slowly rolling up to her, and she told her daughter that instead of just stopping right away, let's just drive past her and get a look at her, and then we'll turn around and see if she needs any help. And so as they got right up next to her, they realized she was not a little girl. She was a young teenager, but she was not a young child. And as they drove right past her, they would expect her to turn around and acknowledge the car creeping up on her, considering there's no other traffic in the area and you're just some person sitting on the side of the road. You should definitely turn around and see what's behind you. But the girl did not acknowledge them. She just continued to have her knees up to her chest and rocked back and forth. And so Misty and her mother are a little bit freaked out by this, but they drive past her about 50 meters. Misty's mother does a 3-point turn, and when they're looking back down the road, where the girl should now be on their left-hand side, they're oriented back towards their house now, she wasn't there anymore. But there were no streetlights. It was now almost completely pitch dark outside, and so all they had was the headlights. And so Misty told her mom, drive up a little ways. Maybe the girl stood up and moved, and we just can't see her because she's not in the headlights. And so Misty's mom began driving down the road and kind of turning slightly towards the left to shine the light more to the left, but there was no sign of this girl. For good measure, they turned right slightly to shine the lights more to the right-hand side of the road, but there was no sign of this girl. And so Misty and her mother just slow rolled back down the road, kind of keeping their eye out on both sides. But after traveling for several minutes, going about 5-10 miles an hour, and seeing no sign of this girl, they decided that, well, she must have just gone back into the woods and gone back to wherever it was she came from. And so Misty's mom began picking up speed, and before long they had gone maybe 2 or 3 miles away from where they'd seen this girl, and they were coming up to this 4-way intersection with stop signs all around. And as they were getting close, Misty's mother gasped because on the other side of the intersection, on the right-hand side, was this girl sitting on the side of the road. She's got her back to the road, her knees are up, and she's rocking back and forth. And so Misty's mother pulls up the stop sign and then just sits there. And both women are just stunned at what they're looking at. They had just seen her 2-3 miles back down the road. It wasn't possible for her to get all the way up here. And so Misty's mother looks at her daughter and says, you know, do you think it's a different girl? And Misty's like, no, that's the same girl. And so they just sat there for a minute until Misty started to panic. And she said to her mom, Mom, don't stop. I got a bad feeling about this girl. I don't know what's going on, but you can't stop next to this girl. But Misty's mom, she was definitely weirded out by this situation, no doubt. But she didn't feel good about abandoning this girl in the middle of the night on the side of the highway. And so even though she felt a little bit hesitant herself, she told Misty, you know, we have to at least drive past her and ask if she's okay. That's the least we can do. And Misty was not having it. She said, Mom, do not stop. I got a bad feeling about this. Don't stop near this girl. But Misty's mom let up off the brake and began slow rolling past this intersection. And now at this point, Misty is just absolutely terrified. And so she takes her seatbelt off and she goes down into the footwell right in front of her seat. And she closes her eyes and covers her ears, and she just continues to beg her mother to just please keep going. Don't stop. But her mother just continues on until she stops right next to this girl who's still just sitting on the side of the road with her back to the road. She's got her knees up. She's rocking back and forth. She's not acknowledging Misty or her mother. And so Misty's mother turns to her daughter and says, please roll down your window. And Misty refuses. She's still down in the footwell, still in the fetal position. She's crying and she's still begging her mother to please just go home. And so Misty's mother, frustrated, reaches across the passenger seat and grabs the knob to roll down the window manually. So she rolls the window down, and Misty, who's down in the footwell, all she remembers is sitting there covering up her ears, and she's crying, and she opens her eyes and she's looking up towards her mom, who's reaching over the seat, and her mom yells out to this girl. And Misty remembers looking at her mom, who suddenly recoils in horror and screams, and then they take off like crazy, flying down the road. Misty jumps out of the footwell, and she's looking at her mom, and she's like, what's happening? What just happened? What did you see? And her mom's got her hand over her mouth, and she's speeding down the road, and she's crying now, and she's looking at Misty, and she just doesn't have the words to describe what she just saw. And so Misty's asking her mom, what did you see? What happened? And finally, her mother just said, she didn't have a face. She didn't have a face. It was hollow. There was nothing on her face when she looked at me. And so Misty screams and she's crying and her mom is crying, and they speed home. They're home just a couple of minutes later, and they run inside, practically falling over each other to get in the house. And as soon as they get inside, Misty's mom calls 911, and she didn't even know how to describe what she just saw. But she knew it was too embarrassing to try to describe it as some girl without a face sitting by the highway. And so she just told the police that they had seen a girl they think needs help. And so the police, they went out and they searched that entire stretch of highway. They looked for any sign of anybody out there, but there wasn't. There was never any trace of that girl. In 2016, a 25-year-old Wall Street banker named Matt was camping near Mount Rainier in Washington state. His job was so hectic that in the rare times he got a chance to, he would disappear into the wilderness for a few days to clear his head. Despite living in one of the biggest cities in the world, Matt was actually a very competent outdoorsman. And so for this trip, he decided he would stay way off any trail, deep in the backcountry in random locations. On the first night, he found a nice clearing in the trees, and so he set up his campsite there. He ate some food over his fire, he pitched his tent, climbed inside, and within a few minutes, he was fast asleep. Several hours later, Matt woke up to some strange sounds coming from outside of his tent. It sounded like a couple of animals or maybe one animal moving around right outside. And so after a while of just hearing this constant sound, he rolled over and he barely unzipped his tent flap just to look out and see if he could see whatever animal it was. And what he saw shocked him. There was a man sitting in front of his fire pit. There was no fire in his fire pit. And the guy was just sitting there with his hands on his knees, looking straight down. And periodically he would just kick his feet in the ashes of the fire pit. And Matt didn't even know what to do. So he's just looking at him through this little tiny gap in his tent. And this man all of a sudden looks up directly at Matt and makes eye contact with him. And the guy's eyes go wide and he stands up, turns around, and runs away from Matt's campsite. Matt has no idea how to react to this. And so he just quickly unzips his tent, jumps outside, and shines his light into the forest looking for this guy. He's thinking to himself, Who is this guy? I am in the middle of nowhere in the backcountry of Washington State. How long was he sitting outside there for? What does he want? And so as Matt is trying to make sense of this totally weird thing, he's thinking, okay, I'm going to look out and I'm going to see his flashlight somewhere, or I'm going to see his campsite. You know, maybe he's set up nearby and he's looking around into the total darkness. He's looking through all the trees, any light source anywhere out there he would see. And there's not one. There's no fire. There's no flashlight. There is nothing. And so eventually Matt goes back inside of his tent, he zips it up, and he's just left kind of dumbfounded. He can't understand how some person was just sitting outside of his tent for no apparent reason and then vanished into the forest without even turning on a flashlight. And so after a very restless night, finally the sun came up again and Matt was very relieved. He stepped outside. And after a little bit of time now from this strange incident, Matt started to tell himself that all that was is some guy happened to set up his campsite nearby. It is possible, albeit rare, because we're in the backcountry. And maybe he was just intoxicated and he wandered over here and, you know, stranger things have happened. So that's probably all it was. And so Matt felt like there was nothing to worry about. He packed up his campsite and he began hiking into the forest. Matt didn't have a planned route. Instead, he had a map and a compass, and he began just kind of wandering in the forest, kind of exploring wherever he wanted to go. And over the next 2 days, he covered at least 10, maybe 15 miles in kind of random zigzag directions. He found a nice clearing and he set up another campsite. That night, he set up a fire and he was eating some food near his fire. And then as he's sitting there, he hears rustling coming from behind him. And he's pretty sure it's an animal, so he turns around and he doesn't see anything. And he goes back to eating his food. And then a little while later, he hears some more rustling behind him. And this time, he can't really just write it off. Clearly, there is something behind him that's moving around. And so he stood up, turned around, and remained motionless and just listened, expecting to see maybe a deer come out of the woods. But instead, he hears a man's voice come out of the darkness that says,
"Do you know how to get to Bell's Canyon?"
And Matt's heart starts racing. He knows that even though he can't see him, it has to be the same guy he saw 2 days ago. Because they are in the middle of nowhere. He hasn't seen any other hikers or campers or anyone. And clearly this guy has the ability to sneak up on him. And so he's thinking, what does this guy want? I just spent the past 2 days hiking in random directions for 15 miles, and he must have followed me. And so Matt, not knowing what else to do, just says, "I don't know where Bell's Canyon is." And then there's silence. And Matt, one part of him is thinking, I hope this guy does not come into the light. I hope he just goes away. The other part of him is thinking, well, you know, maybe this is a different person that is lost and they're looking for this place called Bell's Canyon and they'll come into the light. It'll be a big relief. I'll send them on their merry way and everything will be fine. But as Matt is having this wishful thinking, the voice from the shadows does not come any closer, but instead asks the same question a bit more forcefully this time.
"Do you know how to get to Bell's Canyon?"
This time Matt did not respond. Now he was scared. This is not some friendly hiker looking for directions. There's something wrong. And so Matt, knowing he's all alone out here, he knew he had to do something to try to take control of this situation. And so he took a deep breath, he reached down and grabbed his flashlight, and in one swift motion, he lifted his light up and shined it in the direction of this guy's voice. And what he saw was this guy from 2 days ago looking out from behind a tree right in Matt's direction. He was hiding from him. And when the light hit him, the man barked at Matt to aim it away. And Matt kind of instinctively lowered his light, but now he was too scared to raise it again, and now he knows it's the same guy. This guy has been following me for 2 days. And so for several minutes, Matt just stood there absolutely terrified, and this guy, he just stayed out there. Matt didn't hear him move. It was just a complete standstill. And then the silence was broken yet again by this voice, except somehow he had moved even closer to Matt. And when he came through asking the same question, "Do you know how to get to Bell's Canyon?" his voice was so close to Matt that Matt got scared and raised his light up, and the man was standing just a few feet away from him. And this time, the man's eyes got wide like they did the first time they saw Matt, and he turned around and he ran
Oh, there goes my sleep tonight.
Into the forest again. Matt, not knowing any better, just began running after him, but he only ran for about 30 seconds before he realized the terrain out here is so rough. He's gonna fall, get hurt, he's gonna get lost, and this guy's already long gone. He somehow managed to run immediately so far away, and so Matt just goes back to his campsite, and he's thinking to himself, what do? I have no cell phone service. I'm at least 3 days away from my car, and I'm in the middle of nowhere. No one even knows where I am because I didn't chart a course. I didn't tell anyone where I was going to be. And so Matt just grabbed his knife and stood in the middle of the campsite, and for hours and hours he just kept looking around, expecting this guy to just show up again or start speaking to him from somewhere out in the darkness. It was absolutely horrifying. Finally, by about 3 in the morning, Matt was so tired that he had to go to sleep. He hadn't heard this guy again, he didn't see him again, and he figured, I need a little bit of sleep because tomorrow he's gonna pack up his campsite and begin this epic journey back to his car. And so he climbed in his tent and he had a very restless next couple of hours. Then the sun came up, Matt jumped out of his tent, packed up his stuff, and began practically running in the direction of his car. All day as he was hiking, Matt kept looking over his shoulder, expecting to see this guy, because clearly he had followed him for multiple days, over 15 miles, and so the likelihood that he's still following him was really high. And so all day, Matt just felt like he was being watched, he was totally terrified, and then the sun started to go down, and Matt knew he would have to camp out again. And so he found a clearing in the trees, he set up his campsite, and he was so tired from running basically all day and being so mentally exhausted from this experience that he just got in his tent and fell asleep very quickly. But several hours later, he woke up to the sound of somebody walking around his tent, and he knew it had to be this guy. He's still in the middle of nowhere. He's not even close to the parking lot yet. And so this guy is still following him. And so Matt sat up in his tent, he clutched his knife, and for hours and hours and hours, all night, this guy just walked around his campsite. And then around 4 or 5 in the morning, he scampered off. When the sun finally came up, Matt leapt out of his tent, packed up his stuff, and literally just began running in the direction of his car, hoping that maybe he could get there before needing to camp out one more night. And so all day as he moved, he's looking over his shoulder, knowing this guy is following him. At this point, it's not even a question. He's somewhere in the forest, but he could never see him. And unfortunately, as the sun was setting, he knew he was not going to be able to make it to his car. He was just too far away. And so at some point when it got too dark to keep moving, he had to find a clearing and set up his tent again. And so once his tent was set up, he just climbed inside, grabbed his knife, and sat there, knowing this guy was somewhere out there. And so Matt climbed inside of his tent, he zipped it up behind him, he grabbed his knife, and he sat there, expecting to hear this guy come walking around. But after several hours, he didn't hear him. And Matt started to wonder, maybe this guy has left me alone, finally. Maybe he's not following me anymore. And so Matt, who was totally exhausted, laid down to go to sleep. And then as he's laying there from somewhere out in the woods...
Do you know how to get to Bell's Canyon?
Matt immediately sat up, his heart began racing so fast that he actually was concerned he might have a heart attack. And he didn't know what to do, he didn't know what to say, so he just sat there holding his knife. And then this guy began running past his campsite, making animal sounds, and he would stop periodically and moan and grunt, and he'd pick up leaves, and then he'd run past his campsite again, over and over and over again, until the sun finally came up and this guy scampered off back into the woods. Matt didn't waste any time. He leapt out of his tent, packed his stuff up, and ran all the way back to his car. When he finally got inside of his car, shut the door, and locked it, he cried tears of joy. He was so unbelievably relieved. And he peeled out of the parking lot, he got to a nearby hotel, he finally got cell phone reception, and he considered calling the police about this guy, but he thought, what am I gonna tell them? He didn't commit a crime, he was just terrifying. And so he decided not to call the police. He finally flew back to New York, and he just had to accept that there was some strange guy out in the wilderness of Washington state who was able to hunt him over 3 days and 30 miles in rugged terrain without the use of a flashlight, without any gear, and all he ever said to Matt was,
Do you know how to get to Bell's Canyon?
So that's gonna do it, guys. If you found the secret and
it had to have been a feral person, I think.
Yeah, me too.
For what it sounds like, that could be a feral.
today's episode, let us know in the comments.
I'm going with a feral person, I think. I don't know then.
Yeah, I think you're right.
For what it's
comfortable.
Because it could just imitate like what it hears from people.
Yeah.
Being like, hey, you know where Bell Canyon? I heard it from other people. Bell's Canyon.
No, but I just shit my pants.
No shit. We get it, making sure I was wearing the brown pants that day.
Yeah, you can be the biggest
What it
badass,
is-
but if that ever happens, like all bets are off. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's like legit. Like, oh man, I can
That's
only
like
imagine.
immediately. I don't want to be where I am. You know what I mean? I just
Yeah.
want not to be. You know?
Yeah, like the second he got into the car and it was like the tears of joy. Then that's like you went through true fear.
Yeah, like happy to be alive and yeah,
Oh.
that's,
Let's watch this wackadoo. The Sasquatch killer.
oh, Justin Smear. Yeah. Before you
Yeah.
do that, I wanted to say, Outdoor was talking about like finding that skull and stuff.
Uh-huh.
I when I was a kid, my dad was a police officer in my hometown, and I was like 14 or 15 years old, and he had woken me up like 11 o'clock one night. He's like, "Hey, I need your help with something." And he was in the police car, so I'm like, "Oh boy, what happened?" And he's like, "Well, they found something in the next street over. I need you to help me identifying it." I'm like, "All right." So I got in the car, and he brings me down to this little wooded area, and we had to cross police lines and shit. He's like, "Come on, Mike," and I went with him, and it was a naked dead girl, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" So he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "Your friend Krista's missing." He's like, "We gotta, she's been missing for 3 days. We just found this body. We need you to identify it, see if it's her or not before we contact her parents." I'm like, "Oh boy." So I went over to identify it, man, and it was the creepiest thing ever. It wasn't her, thank God. But
Yeah, thank God.
but that I was like a junior, I think, in high school, and we had our town had like 17,000 people in it, and we had 3 murders in 5 months in our town. And it was like a crazy thing, but the girl was murdered. Yeah, she got murdered, and it was actually on the show 48 Hours. They did a whole show on her getting murdered. Her name was Jen Mullen. You can look it
shit.
up. Absolutely crazy. Like that stuck with me for my whole life. Just she had these like like filmed over eyes, like dead fish eyes. It was the creepiest thing. Yeah, it was just so creepy.
Dude.
But, yeah,
Fuck.
one of the yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, I'm from Boston, definitely. I'm trying not to lose the whole accent. Yeah, it's bad. My accent's really bad when I start going. Trust me. Awful. Yeah.
We love it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Get some fucking laughs out of it.
Justin claims that he shot an adult and a juvenile Sasquatch.
That was a crazy story.
And that he
Like I
killed
have
the
other
younger one.
crazy shit my dad went through and stuff. He was
It's made him one
I
of the
had
most
when I was a baby. I don't remember this obviously, but my father had broken up a biker. Like bikers had taken over the town, and they called in the National Guard and stuff because it was that bad. And
the motorcycle clubs were that bad out
yeah,
there.
yeah, it was really bad. Like the outlaws, like really bad here. And my father had gotten in a few fights with them, and they had come to they found out where my father lived, and he was working. And this is, I guess my mother was holding me, and she opened the front door, and one of the bikers punched her right in the face.
Oh shit.
That was a crazy story, and I was a kid. I was trying to write a book on it. Like it was a huge deal here. My father passed away a few years ago, but I've been trying to write a book on what happened. I've talked to a few of the police officers my father worked with and stuff. I'm trying to get like the whole story, but yeah, I guess it was like crazy here for a couple nights, and I got some crazy information out of it. But yeah, I just wanted to tell you that story. It's crazy. I'm not.
I heard the all the outlaws are out there.
Yeah, outlaws are real. Yeah, the motorcycles are really bad here. I own a small bar here, and we had the outlaws came in and they tried to shake me down for money and shit, and it was crazy. Yeah, we had
They still
definitely
do that
issues.
shit? Wow.
Yeah, this was like 5 years ago. He came in and
Fuck.
I was
It'd be like saying
I was
like you owe me this much.
he came well a bunch of them came in one night and they were wearing their vests and shit. And I told them they couldn't wear their vests in the place because it was causing issues, and they left. And I was out and the bartender called me, and she's like, "You have to come back. There's a problem." I came back, and there was like 3 bikers in the bar. We had just opened. It was like 1:30 in the afternoon. I was like, "What's up?" And the guy's like, "Oh, I wanted to talk to you what happened the other night." I'm like, "Well, it says right there, no colors. There's a sign that says that." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "But I heard there was somebody else in here with colors." I'm like, "Well, there wasn't." And he's like, "Well, for the mistake," he's like, "Why don't I just pick up like 20% of the take each month or something?" I'm like, "What?" Like we went back.
It's like, how did the fuck did we get here?
Yeah, I'm like, "Dude, fuck off." You know what I mean? Like, and I went back and forth, and I don't want to get crazy into it, but I had a family member that was in prison for second-degree murder, and he knew who he was. And he backed off. He was like, "Oh, I know so and so. I won't come back." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So, yeah,
Wow.
it still goes on here. It's crazy.
Jesus.
Yeah, he was a big dude. He was definitely like, I would have got my ass kicked. You know what I mean? He was a big dude. I'm not small. You know what I mean? I'm a big kid, but big guy. But he was intimidating, and he actually ended up dying a few years later. He was working on a road, like doing road work, and a car dragged him like 100 feet, killed him, and they found grenades and shit in his house. The guy wasn't a joke.
So he was a legit.
Yeah, he was legit, dude. He was gonna fuck me up. There was no doubt about it.
God damn.
So I probably escaped one there,
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, it wasn't like he didn't come in like Sons of Anarchy with his little white shoes and shit. He literally was he was roided up in his fucking mind. He had big tattoos on his head. He's loud as shit. I knew like I'm not gonna deal with this too well.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a rough night.
Yeah, I was definitely looking at a hospital stay if I mouth off too much.
Oh,
and those
definitely.
3 of them. Yeah, those 3 of them, and not one of them was small. And you could tell, like, there wasn't a brain cell between them, but they would have fucking killed me.
Oh yeah, because they had that retard strength.
Yeah, that's what it is exactly. Like I'd be out of it in a second, So, all right, I wanted to throw that story in there because I saw him typing about that.
That was awesome, brother.
I got a few stories like that. Trust me, I grew up in a weird place. Like I worked for I collected money for a bookie when I was like 23, and I got into a lot of shit when I was a kid. I ended up becoming a bookie around here, and it's a long story, but yeah, like I was it was crazy. I'll get into it one night. We can do a whole story, but I don't do it anymore, so it's fine. I don't really care. Yeah, I was like,
Bro, that's
at one
wild.
I had like 180 grand in a shoebox in my house at one point. So
good God.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I've been involved in some crazy shit, but I'm not like that anymore. Like it's
Oh, Dr. Kunt said the jizz gave it away.
Oh boy. But yeah, I got a few things like that, but
that's awesome. That's wild. Yeah. I can't wait.
Yeah, no, I can tell you some crazy shit about like collecting money in Chinatown at like 4:30 in the morning. Like whacked out shit happens. And, like,
fuck.
Yeah, I'm not some like animal or anything. I don't, I just you do what you have to, you're sent to do something. You do it. You try to do it with like the least amount of resistance and not get in trouble, and like that's basically what it is. It starts off where you're like you're putting bets on football games, and the day after Thanksgiving, and you're up like 10 grand, so you're going crazy, and you end up blowing like 70 grand, and then you have to work for them to pay it off. You know what I mean? So that's what happens.
Fuck.
I don't have a police record, so I don't have a police record.
See, you knew how to do it.
Well, my father was a cop too. My family was cop. You can look it up. My last name's Dorenzo. You can look it up. I've no, I'm telling the truth 100%. So, Yeah, it's
so
crazy around
interesting,
here. It's
brother.
crazy going up and down,
It's
dude. It is crazy around here. I will say that. And believe me, it's
Is
way
Char-
crazier.
is Charlestown exactly like how I see it
I
out of
mean,
the?
yeah, it's I mean, it's not. If you watch it, I'll give you a movie to watch. It's a low budget movie called Oxymoron. If you look it up, it's about like the whole Charlestown and how the drugs came in there, the oxys and shit. It's crazy. And the kid that stars in it, like he made the movie and he was like the main drug addict in it. It's pretty crazy. You remember Bigfoot Silva from UFC?
Yeah.
He's in it.
Oh
I think that
shit!
was his name.
Okay.
Yeah, he was in it. He played one of the thugs. He was yeah, he was in it.
He
But
would play like
actually,
he does look like a thug with that fucking giant melon.
yeah, he plays a big part in it. He's like he ends up in jail and like it takes like 9 cops to like do him in. It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
So, all right, let's
But
watch
yeah,
this let's watch this
yeah,
Bigfoot killer.
yeah. Justin Smeha.
Smeha.
Justin claims that he shot an adult and a juvenile Sasquatch, and that he killed the younger one. It's made him one of the most infamous figures in the Bigfoot world today. It all began on a hunting trip to California's remote Sierra Mountains.
In October of 2010, I was bear hunting with a friend of mine up in the Sierras. It was a day just like any other.
You having problems with it?
There was one area that we...
What's that?
Is it okay? Is it planned?
Yeah.
Knew that we liked from the beginning. We said, yeah, we're gonna go here and we're gonna kill something here, for sure. We came around the corner and we're driving, we look into this open meadow and we see this creature. Me and my buddy saw it at the same time. He slams on the brakes.
I know.
Maybe for the first second or two, I did think it was a bear. And then I looked and I saw that it was on 2 legs. I was just sitting there nervous looking at this thing.
Hey, girl from Mars, thanks for stopping by.
And thinking this is a monster.
Hey, Mods.
7.5 to 8 feet tall, around 600 pounds. A couple
Good
seconds
night,
go
Ellie.
by, I decide that I'm gonna kill it. And I shot it about right here, just on the top of its rib. It fell to the ground.
I'm sorry. This story sounds bullshit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's, you know,
Immediately, you
and
can see.
he made money off of this shit too. You know what I mean?
That's
Guy,
wild.
like, yeah.
That's like,
I mean,
the impact. You could see the dust.
he
come
took
off
it to a
of
DN. Like I told you, he had like, I think it was like bear meat or whatever he had. You know what I mean? And,
well, from from what he's talking about, I want to say he misidentified a bear.
yeah, like absolutely.
If he shot anything, it was more than likely he shot a bear, and he's just saying it was a Sasquatch.
Yeah, he could have shot and made a story up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
absolutely. He's not well received in that whole community.
And then you have my buddy say, "Wait, there's more." Then we see 2 smaller ones, maybe 3.5 feet tall, maybe 35, 40 pounds.
He looks like he looks the part too, doesn't he?
He really does. He, God
he's
damn,
got, like,
he also
he
has
got
like a little bit of lazy eye too.
Yeah, he's got the flannel with the sleeves cut off, dude. He's like perfect for it.
He kind of reminds me of what's his name, Bobo, from Finding Bigfoot.
That's funny, dude. That's a riot.
10 and 15 minutes up close.
It's like you almost like a
I
cousin
shot
of
the little one square in the neck.
He reminds me of like a South Park
grabbed
character or
it,
something.
It was
He
still
really
alive.
does, actually.
It was bleeding all over me.
Like
Very
his clothes, his
human-like
hat,
features.
his big head. Look at him.
Their eyes had whites in them. They looked
It's like Cartman's
awful
uncle.
like Manu. I
Cartman's
shot a
uncle.
Bigfoot or a Sasquatch.
Look at him,
It
Cartman's
looks
uncle.
like him.
Awful lot
Yeah.
like Manu.
That's
Oh my
awesome.
god,
I shot a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch.
we found it. That's
I
what
haven't
Bigfoot
found
looks
a
like. Is this
reasonable
guy?
explanation for what happened to me. I haven't
He
found any
says when
sort
he
of
shot
way
it,
to
like
prove
dirt
that I'm
came
telling
off
the
the
truth.
chest and stuff. Like
That's what I'm hoping that this
crazy.
DNA study does.
Oh my God.
I would give anything. I would give my house.
This guy.
If Brian Sykes was able to walk up to me and said, hey, you know, I tested this, and I'm going to be able to show everybody that you're telling the truth.
And you're not, sir. Oh my God. That's something else. Yeah. Yeah, fucking. Yeah, I want to say that dude more than likely he like misidentified and was just lying.
I think he's lying.
That's full of shit.
A little bit of fame. Like the guy with him, like wouldn't come out and like corroborate the story. He just was like leaving it alone.
Yeah. See, that's already makes it like fart. Like it's like it's a
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah, they had like an interview with him sitting around a table, like some guy who was like a movie producer who did like low budget movies came and talked to him, and the guy that was there showed up and he wouldn't like go on camera. He wouldn't put his face on camera and shit. So
Oh yeah, fuck that guy.
yeah, so I'm like
Outdoor loser, I've eaten over 900 pounds of bear meat.
yeah, I don't blame him. I've had bear meat. No, like my dad was a hunter and shit too. Like
Yeah.
I don't have anything against hunting, you know what I mean? Like I did it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
This guy's just an asshole. You can tell he's a fucking mess.
Fuck. Let's watch
I used to come home and I'd have deers hanging in the garage and shit. My dad would go hunting and bring home
bring
crazy.
on the bears.
Yeah. Getting oh, you gotta help me skin this deer today. I'm like, oh shit.
It's like, God damn it.
Yeah. I'm like, fuck that. I'm like 13, got blood all over me. My friends come over like, what the fuck are you doing? You know? Holy shit, kid. Yeah. Well, in Missouri, it's called like I think it's like the Mo Monster or something, isn't it?
Yeah, the Momo.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, like it's
Yeah,
well known. Like
he was spotted like almost not too far from where I'm from, actually. I would say about like an hour and probably about an hour and a half or so. Was where the original story was.
yeah, we have it's weird here. Like we have the whole Boston city and Southie and like the criminals, and then we have like a little bit beyond that. We have like places where you hunt and stuff. You know, it's like
That's
you
wild.
can do everything. You know, like you have mountains in like New Hampshire, and then a little bit like you could end up in the city with crazy shit going on. You know,
Yeah.
kind of crazy. Nice. You know, not as bad. Like in the '90s and shit, it was bad. Like the late '90s, like
Yeah.
Boston was pretty bad. It was yeah. You have the combat zone. They called like the places in Boston. They call it the combat zone, where all the strip clubs and where all the shit went down. You know, I guess it's like a mini town square. You know. It's
Oh
crazy.
yeah.
A lot of shit happened.
Shitheads.
Like you said, a lot of bank robberies and shit. Like that was a big thing here.
Yeah, it was.
I know a few people that got pinched for robbing banks. I never understood that. Like you were gonna get caught, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
at some point you're gonna get caught, or that day you're gonna get caught.
Yeah, like I know about 8 people that went to jail for bank robberies, and the only 8 people I know that attempted them. Every person I know that attempted them is in jail.
Yeah.
So, it never worked out. Never.
It never does.
Yeah.
Especially
Like
nowadays.
it's the easiest way to get 15 years in prison is doing that. It's the easiest way to do it.
Easy.
Yeah. Like awful. It was that I don't know if you saw the movie The Town. Is that what you were referring to?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I don't
because of
know
Charlestown.
if you know this dude, but the guy who the movie was based on was on Did you hear about this dude? He got out of jail, right? The Ben Affleck character gets out of jail. He shows up in that Rhode Island court TV show.
Yeah.
And he tells the judge, he's like, yeah, I was the guy that was in the movie. And he
told the judge
robbed the
about him.
bank. Yeah, he robbed the bank like a month later. He's back in jail. Yeah, he went out and he robbed 3 more banks around here.
Wow.
Yeah, he went and saw that judge, dude, and he told his sob story to him. Okay, and it's one thing if you're out of it, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, I'm out of it. Here's my story.
I actually fell for that sob story, honestly.
I did too. And like, you know what I mean? You're out of it and shit, and then he comes back, dude, and he starts robbing fucking banks again. And like within like 6 months, he's back in prison.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. That's so wild. Holy shit. Was on that show and then like 3 months later back in prison. That's crazy. Did you know Whitey Bulger?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, brother.
Hey, yeah, I'm here. Sorry about that.
Oh no, you're good, brother.
Yeah.
Outdoor Loser wants to know, do you know Whitey Bulger?
No, I do not know Whitey Bulger. I didn't work for Whitey Bulger. I actually worked for Italians and Greeks when I was doing that. So,
Okay.
did not know Whitey. He was known like when you like you had to get permission to do stuff. Anything like north of the bridge, you had to get permission from the Italians, and like south of the bridge, you had to get permission from like Whitey Bulger's crew. Like that's how they did it. So, and I never had a dealing with him personally at all. I wouldn't have known him if he walked in front of me. I wouldn't have known who he was.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known either, honestly.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's I know people that knew him and like, you know, but you never know if they're telling bullshit. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, he's someone that everybody wanted to you know, to know. You know what I mean? To be like, oh, I have a Whitey Bulger story. But no,
It's like everyone has a Whitey Bulger story.
I had a Bigfoot story. I didn't have a Whitey Bulger story. I had a Bigfoot story.
Oh yeah, God damn it.
Exactly. No, I'm not the Whitey Bulger story guy. I'm the Bigfoot story guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're my Bigfoot guy.
I know a couple Tonys. I don't know like someone that goes by Fat Tony. Were you talking about Fat Tony Salerno? No, I don't know him. No.
Oh yeah, watch this Ohio Grassman. Salt Fork.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Grassman's crazy, man. He's supposed to be huge.
Yeah. Tall cat.
Now, you're not going to want to miss any of this video.
I sent you the thing about Mr. Cruel, too. Have you ever heard of him? Oh, my God.
I think I have.
Yeah, Australia's like creepiest serial killer. Crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Audio.
Yeah, we can get to that after this.
Noises from something.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the other thing I sent you with Time Machine, the time thing. Do you see that? The Dawdleston time thing? Did you see that?
Yeah.
It was, I don't know if you heard of it. The story's crazy, dude. I came upon it a few months ago. Nuts. It's like a time-traveling computer story. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's nuts. You'll love it. It's crazy.
That used to be the trail right there. That's the trail that you're supposed to take.
Let's see what we get here.
Looks like we have a lot of bones.
Holy shit, there is. Well, that's a deer.
A lot of hair.
Yeah, you showed like.
I would say these are.
Which one are you looking at?
Deer.
Oh, you looking at the drone footage and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
Of them.
Crazy. They pick up some good stuff. I was surprised.
Pretty good.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying
that's
it's real or anything, but
Yeah, I'm trying to wait till
So
I
after
see.
seeing the bones
Yeah.
and everything, we
but these guys weren't looking to
decided to
like
continue,
find Sasquatch. You know, they
down
were
through the cave,
out doing some other
Zach's
outdoor shit.
cave.
They have a channel. They already had an established
We'd
channel, I
gotten
guess. You know.
permission to
Oh, okay.
be able to actually fly
Yeah,
a
they already
drone
were doing
the
stuff.
park
And
as long as we stayed away from any of the public areas like the lodge or cabins or even the campgrounds. And the sounds that you're going to hear next are absolutely bone chilling. Now the sounds of the leaves rustling, that's us moving around trying to pinpoint the exact location where the sounds are coming from.
I don't know George Young. I actually, I don't know anybody. Sorry, guys. I met Ric Flair at a mall before.
Oh my god.
Now at this point, I decided to take the
This
drone
place
up.
looks real
I
Bigfootish,
adjusted,
doesn't it?
It really
the
does. It
settings
looks
on the camera
Yeah.
to
Like, if
looks
something's
like
gonna
almost like
be
a
like,
prime
and the
location.
dark's really
yeah,
dark.
like if something's gonna be
Trying to get
around, like it
anything to
looks like
stand
this
out
area.
some. The
It's crazy.
picture's not that pretty, but
Yeah,
we're
I
trying
could tell it's
to
already like it's
pinpoint
very remote, very
what's
timbery,
making these sounds.
Yeah,
See
yeah.
if we could see anything
very thick. There's a lot of trees,
at all.
Look at those bones, dude. Like they
We
have
actually did,
bones on the ground and
and
fucking
we're gonna
crazy.
slow it down and show it
Like
a couple
like deer
times.
carcasses, you know.
And
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys be the judge of it.
I remember. I think it starts snowing and then like some activity happens.
Oh wait,
I didn't get a.
what the hell is that? Oh, there's two of them,
Yeah,
or
something
two is
like,
something. Could be a bear.
Be the judge of it.
yeah. Well, they get a picture of this thing and like a video of it. It's definitely on.
Oh,
Like
because
it's either.
they're doing the drone footage of
Yeah,
it looking
yeah.
down at first.
There's there's a lot of interest in drone footage now. Like, but you can't really decipher what it is from
Yeah.
up, you know. So
Oh my god. It's like I want to believe, but then at the same time, in my head is like it has to be a bear.
dude, we're on the same wavelength. Like, I'm interested
As
in
you
the
can see
subject a lot.
here,
Like I follow it
love it.
and did some
clouds have
research, but
really
like I
thickened up
definitely can't say that they're
and
real. You know, I
snow's
can't like.
on
Yeah.
its way. So I want to hurry up.
There's
and
something going
go
on,
land
but
the
I
drone
There
cannot
really
so it
like.
is.
doesn't get caught up in the
There's something,
snow
but
because
it's
not
like I
Not
can't
really.
pin
And
that very
It's
definitive.
we're gonna hike back
Yeah,
to
they're
where we
discovering like
think we
new
saw something.
mammals and shit all the
Let's see if we
time. And,
can't
like
catch it
the
on
stuff they're
Yeah.
pulling out of
our actual
the
cameras
trench
up
and stuff is
close.
crazy. So
Oh, oh wait,
yeah,
here it is. Look at you, big bastard.
yeah. Outdoor just said the same thing. That's my problem too. I want it to be real. That's the whole thing. Like I definitely want it to be real.
See, but then you have something like
You know,
this,
our actual cameras up close.
and then it's like, God damn it, what the hell is this?
Right,
Because
right.
it's fuck. This is high quality too.
Yeah, it is. It's not shitty footage. You know, it's like
Actually, for once, get a like instead of like potato video.
yeah, a shaky potato video. Exactly. Like
Oh my gosh.
it's like the Mitch Hedberg
Because
comedian is
like
like maybe Bigfoot's just blurry. You know what I mean?
yeah. Look at this thing.
It's the Ohio grass, man.
Like it's interesting. Like I told you, it's an interesting
It's
video. I don't
very
know. Like
interesting. It
yeah.
there's definitely something there because it's not a bear, for one.
Can't
Because I
catch
can
it
tell you right
on
off the bat that's
our
not a bear
actual
walking on two legs.
cameras up close.
Because look at it, like
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
also
So
see. Look how far the hands are. Like
once you get to that point, dude, it's like it's not a bear, then it's something. It's like a Bigfoot or a guy in a suit. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, like it's just so burly.
Actual cameras
That's
up close.
the problem that I'm having. It doesn't look like well, it's not a ghillie suit.
Yeah. Like, and that's the other thing. It's like, where do you get these quality suits? Like, how do they get the Patterson suit in 1967?
Yeah.
I mean,
up close.
like, sticking to its muscles, and
I'm
you
sorry
can
for
see
replaying this a lot, y'all, but like, look, like I finally paused it at a perfect spot.
Right.
Like,
Oh.
look at this, like, fucking leg bend. It's like its knee is almost damn near on the fucking ground.
Yeah, that's exactly, and that's what they're supposed to be like. Like, it's funny you said that because I paused this video like 50 times trying to get. He peeks around a tree at one point with his face. I paused it
Really?
on the face. You'll see it. It comes up. It peeks around. You see its face. Like, you get a decent look.
Oh God, I'm not ready.
Yeah, and but it's like you can make it out. It's not perfect, but it's there.
Yeah.
You know, and it's got the movements of what you would think would be a real animal. You know, like.
Yeah.
Who knows? And these guys, like I said, they're not Bigfoot people. They're not like.
No, these are like deer hunters. Like how? Like, God damn it! Look at this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, this is something I just.
me.
Yeah, I found this the other day, dude. Like,
This is
out of the blue.
like,
Yeah.
fuck. These guys might be onto something. These boys here might be onto something, I think.
Yeah. Laddie, it was this isn't the only video. They redid this video for this purpose. They had this video was like hours long, and then they kind of try to make like for whatever they were doing, you know, their outdoor stuff. And then when they found it, they're like, well, let's make a cut of it for like people who want to see the Bigfoot section of it.
It kind of almost walks. It almost walks as dumb as you would think it would walk.
Dumb.
It's like a dumb walk it has. It's like.
That's funny. Oh shit.
It's like that slow, like.
Yeah, it walks like it's the Patterson film. You know what I mean? Like
It really
you're
does. It's very. I'm actually, honestly, like this. Actually noticing that the similarities of it.
Hey, Allison. Yeah, you're right. There's similarities between the two. Absolutely.
Good Lord. God damn.
Mama Gwen. Love it.
Yeah, it's Gorilla Gwen on the loose.
The Bigfoot sitting in my chair.
Get my ass in my chair.
In my chair. She's such a lovely woman. She would scare Bigfoot.
She really would.
What do you mean, Bigfoot? I'm sitting in my chair.
I'm not a Sasquatch. Oh my God! Here's a zoomed in.
Yeah, they have a few of them coming up. So zoomed in, like, look at the shape of it.
Okay, hold on. See, here's the problem now. Now, with this pause I did, there looks like there's a break from where the ass and the back is.
I agree, dude. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like now I'm just like.
It looks. There's some of the pictures it looks okay, and then others it looks weird. You know what I mean? Like I said that earlier, that's why I don't know.
Yeah, that's like why this one it looks like.
That looks like a dancing bear or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
it almost looks like so, but then the snow is sticking to everything else to it.
It's my car, you know.
I'm like really analyzing this thing. I'm like really breaking this thing down.
Who got canceled? What are they saying? What happened?
Well, if I get the Men in Black at my door, then I know I'm on something. Then.
Oh shit!
If I'm disappeared by the morning, y'all, the Men in Black got me. See, now I think this dude is holding a rifle. Bigfoot. Now the thing is Bigfoot
Yeah,
holding a rifle.
I'm not saying it's real. I just found it, and I'm like,
Oh.
I'll throw it over to Majestic and see if it's
shot.
Ah.
the only.
See, that's the problem too, because they're exactly right. Where this guy, like, if this was a person, they're going to get shot. Because I mean,
Yeah.
like if for like a hunter wise, like this is
The
an
only
easy,
one.
like, easy way to get
Yeah,
shot. That's the
I'll show
problem
like the only one
that
that I
I'm
think is
having.
real. The Patterson film has some legitimacy to it, obviously,
Yeah.
and like maybe the Freeman footage. I'll send that to you. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but Paul Freeman footage from a while back, like a while back. Um, I'll try to send that. That'll be easy. That's real easy to find.
Yeah, I know. See, but that, oh, fucking look at hell.
Like if someone asked me what it was, I'd have to say it's a guy in a suit. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah,
would be my
I
answer.
mean, that's like the only thing I could say is a guy in a suit.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna send you this. It's actually a short one. It's a,
Okay.
like one of those short videos, but I'm gonna send it right now. Okay. I'm gonna send it to just true crime. Okay, it'll be in your true crime selection. Okay. No, I got it cryptid. So send it to cryptid. All right. Send it to cryptid. All right. This is it's like a couple. It's not even like a minute long.
Okay, you just okay. Perfect.
Yeah, I just sent it. Like this is one of the better ones that people still analyze to this day. It has to be 30 years old probably. So.
So look at this damn thing.
This is one that's been debated over and over again.
So look at this side. See it? Oh man, this is a really good one because that actually has me going. I'm like really analyzing this damn thing. Trying to see this. See the part with the face.
Yeah, it should be coming up. I guess we have our first controversy in these little rooms that we have. That's crazy. Nuts.
What? Wait a minute. That thing just making noise?
Love this. Falkor's just intrigued by the Bigfoot video. He has no idea about the chat one.
Should we? I
Oh,
love
you're
this guy.
right.
Like, I love this dude that he's with. He's like, should we, this. Oh my god, this dude is like, should we be here?
Allison's cracking me up. Oh, the whole thing's funny. Imagine if it was a guy in a suit, dude, and one of these jackasses just shot it to see if it was a Bigfoot.
Be like, oh,
Like they
well,
didn't
now
exactly.
we know.
Like they didn't set it up. Like some asshole was doing it as a prank to them. They're like, hey, I have my 9mm. Boom.
Yeah, turd. It's like it's
Yeah,
like I don't know.
I'm with her. Like I'll be honest. Like if someone had a gun to my head, I'd be like, it's a guy in a suit, man. Like that's what I'd have to say.
Yeah, I would be like, I would go with the guy in the suit. It's like a crazy man.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to analyze it and like look at it, you know. But he's right. Allison, I wouldn't give up on us.
We lost
yet.
contact
Come
with
on.
whatever it is. We can't see it, can't hear it.
After 9 months of talking on the phone, just gonna give up on
started
us.
to clear up a little bit. We were hoping to be able to see something. We didn't, so we decided to leave. We went up to the famous Bigfoot Ridge, hoped to hear or see something. We didn't. So I guess the ultimate question is, was this the Ohio Grassman? Was this Bigfoot? Or was this something completely different?
I just don't know. I would say a guy in a suit.
Do you have any stories
being a
about
crazy
the Ohio Grassman?
All right, Falkor, go to the one I sent you. Go to the Freeman video. It should be encrypted.
Okay.
Like I want your opinion on this for sure. I want to see what you think. It's very similar to Patterson Gimlin Patty film. Very similar.
Okay.
Probably the most similar one that you'll see.
Oh shit, he's come down.
Alright, hold on here. Save.
I wanted to show it to you last time we were on it, but I forgot to send it.
It's all good.
Yeah. It's definitely like in my
back
top
up,
like 5 of what like interesting, you know.
Look at that. Yeah, he's going back up the road, come down the road. Yeah, look at...
See, the other problem I'm having is a foot.
Yeah, remember, this is old. This is like an old, like it's probably gonna be shaky. This is from like the 90s, at least.
Yeah.
Allison, I've heard that before. My voice is like, put people to sleep and shit. Like, pretty bad.
Oh, there he goes.
What? There it goes.
Oh, there he goes.
There he goes. There he goes.
See, it walks still as dumb as you think it would walk.
Yeah, look at this, ready? It's like, someone's popping in the
Oh,
bed.
there he goes.
And then it's still doing like this, like the big, like
Yeah.
like it doesn't.
It's crazy.
It looks almost like a bear. That's the problem.
Well, it does that like up and down bob.
Oh,
thing,
there he goes.
Like how it's walking.
Yeah.
Right?
See, this is where I think it's a bear.
There's no way that's a bear. It's either a guy in a suit or it's a Bigfoot. I'm gonna send you another one because.
Oh, there he goes.
I love this actually. I'm starting to
I know you.
really.
Dude, you're all
analyzing
excited.
these.
No, I love it too. It's a lot of fun.
See. Then yeah, I just saw that other movie. So it's like.
He says there's 2 of them in this video. He's like, oh, there's 2 of them. There's 2 of them, but I don't know. All right. Let me see if I can find Freeman footage.
There it goes.
There he goes. There he goes.
Oh, there he goes.
It was in, I believe it was in Washington that it was filmed.
Huh.
Like most of them, the good ones. Well, except obviously Madison was in Bluff Creek, California.
I'm really liking that Ohio one.
The one we just watched?
Yeah.
I get you love analyzing that one.
Yeah.
Let me.
I like that one, like, because it was just so, like, it's just really hard. Because it's like, partially, I want to do a bear majority of the time.
Yeah, you like, well, misidentification would be the most obvious, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Answer. So,
All right, dude. You're my Bigfoot.
I'm trying to get this I'm trying to find the original video of Freeman because there's a lot to it. It shows him like walking up to it, and it's you like it, but I can't find it. Like his kid just came out recently and is writing a book about his father's experience. And he passed away recently, I think, a couple of years ago.
Really? Jesus.
And his kid found his movies and shit. All right, well, here it is. All right, here it is. I found a good one. Hold on a second.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is the one that you should be able to. Yeah, this is better. You need one where they zoom in on it and kind of. Yeah, it was 1994, Falkor. It was a fucking long time ago. And I mean, that's why it's being shot with a potato.
Right. With a fucking potato gun.
Gun camera. Exactly. All right, let me send this to you. 50, maybe it's the same one. I don't know. Oh, stabilized. Here we go. Let me send you the stabilized one. Yeah, this is what I'll do. I got a stabilized one. I'll send it. Oh, yeah. Here we go. This is what I want you to see. All right, here we go. All right, you can get excited now, buddy.
I can't wait.
All right.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
I just sent it. Now you're all set. Now you'll be happy.
Here you go. There we go, ladies and gentlemen.
You're crazier than I am with this shit.
I really do like this shit.
It is fun.
Oh, God damn it, what'd I do?
Oh, there he goes.
God damn it.
What'd you
Oh,
do?
wait, this is the right one.
Yeah, it's stabilized.
Operator error, ladies and gentlemen.
This shit happened.
Jesus. God damn it. I didn't see this.
There it goes.
There you go.
Oh, there he goes.
All right, is this the stabilized one?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, this is good. All right.
See?
All right.
No.
Right.
Oh, there he goes.
That's not a bear, dude.
Yeah, now. Because he's halfway as tall. But then a bear is also half as tall as this tree. But then look at the arm. Right here. That's my other problem.
There it goes.
There's a hand. There's like a hand right down there. Down here. Then
Yeah, see, it looked at him like the Patterson film looked at him.
Yes. Jesus. Oh, God damn it.
There he goes.
There you go.
They measured it. It was like 6'7" or something. I think that's what it was. I mean, 6'7's not like crazy. That's like a two guard in the NBA.
That's like Turd Ferguson.
Oh,
I think it's Turd Ferguson.
I love the liquor. I love Jim Leahy. Jim Leahy is my favorite.
Oh, there you go.
I love how Jim Leahy loved Julian. That's my favorite thing.
See, now, and then his head stays still the entire time. Like how, just like the Patterson Gimlin.
Yeah.
Thing. Like it just has that I mean, it has I mean, she had like a little bobble to the head, but I mean, not like, but it was like it kind of stayed. I don't know what I'm.
But look at you have the cone head, you have like the shoulders
Yeah.
there, and it's got
Yeah, like, look.
the physical picture.
Yo.
Like you have what you would think you would see in an encounter. Like
Yeah. See,
he did a good job. If it's fake,
like
he did a good job. Okay.
Like the Ohio one, it kind of had the same head, like it's kind of stayed on the same like never really, it kind of stayed still, is what I'm trying to
Right.
say. It
Yeah, there
it kind
wasn't.
of stayed even, like
I
between the
agree.
shoulders.
There wasn't much up and down with that one.
Yeah, it
And
was
then
just kind of like this walk. There's not like really any really shoulder movement. It's just like I said, it's like almost as dumb as a thing would walk. It's
yeah,
like there's like
this,
no movement. It's just like like this
right.
like leg movement,
Yeah,
basically.
he's like
Well, nah, I just contradicted myself, but I mean, like,
Jesus.
but yeah, like this, like look how burly this thing is. It's like almost as wide as this damn like little pine tree or like cedar tree that's like right there. It's like damn near as wide as it. It's a fucking giant. Not giant, but it's fucking wide.
Jesus.
Turd.
Get up here where I can see me real quick.
Oh. Alright. Mr. Working Long, are you still there? What's going on, everyone? Hey, Charlie Parker. Thanks for shopping by. Alright. Yeah, you're just a juvie Sam Squatch. Alright. Let's see.
hey.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Yeah, sorry. I was just
No,
saying
you're
the
good.
guy he was talking about the suit. It's like no, the suit. I've looked that up before. The Bob Hieronymus is the guy who said that he was wearing the suit in the Patterson
Yeah.
film. Complete bullshit. Because the suit that he showed, he's like, oh, it was a 2-part suit. It was made out of this leather cowhide shit, and had these huge holes for the eyes. He was full of shit. The Hieronymus guy was like a drunk, a joke at these. But the guy who took the Patterson film, Roger Patterson, actually had his own like fucking life. He literally rented the camera to shoot this, and the guy never fucking returned it. Like he was a he was an asshole. So, like,
Jesus, what an asshole.
Bob Gimlin, the guy who took the footage with him. Bob Gimlin was actually covering Patterson while he was filming it with his 30-30 weapon. But he said that you know, his account, it was all real. Like he said, you know, this is what happened. To this day, he's still alive. He's like 94. He's alive to this day. He says that, you know, it's real. He's never wavered on his story. He said that it was real, and you know, but he also said that Patterson was a complete asshole. So.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. You know, Patterson died like literally months, like I think a year and 18 months after the thing was shot. Like I think that's what it was. He got recently close to 67 when they shot it.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I wonder if it made him this like maybe Bigfoot killed him. Like actually seeing the video, it was like, oh,
Yeah, like, well, the
made him
big
kill
rumor,
over.
like, there was the original footage. They have video of the footprint. It was a huge footprint track, and went all the way down this sandy like beach thing on the creek.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of them, and then some of it went into the woods. Like they tried to follow it into the woods as far as they could, but they couldn't. It was too the forest was too dense, so they had to
Yeah.
back off. So
Wow, that's
it was
crazy.
yeah, it's that whole thing. And then like you have this guy that does a lot of the Bigfoot stuff. His name's M.K. Davis. If you go on there, you'll see him. He analyzes all these videos. He's probably the one that stabilized the Freeman footage. He goes through all these videos and like he like says his own craziness. Like he's a nut. And he'll say like the Bluff Creek, the Patterson film, was actually a Bigfoot massacre, and he's trying to point out dead Bigfoot in the background and shit. He's like a lunatic. Like you'll see him on there. He analyzes anything. Like if you want to see the most obscure Bigfoot videos, like big albino Bigfoots and all this other shit, it'll be on his channel, MK Davis.
Okay.
Yeah, he has like, just crazy stuff. People sending in footage from like Louisiana swamps and shit, and they're just kind of crazy. But,
That's crazy.
well, you could check it out. I mean, you like knowing you'd get entertainment out of it. You'd watch it and be like, okay, let me see this thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so
Probably
he's
be my
like,
last
well,
one for the day. Yeah,
yeah,
let's do it
like,
for my last one.
like if I can find. Did you see the Pennsylvania one? Like the I'll get that. People think this one's real. I don't think it's real. Let me find this one, Pennsylvania one. This one's yeah. This is you'll like it. You'll like analyzing it. It's it's an albino one, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty famous.
I might have
pretty
seen
sure
it, but I will
yeah.
still like to
The
do
thing
this one.
blinks. It blinks into the camera. Have you seen it?
More than likely, I think. You know what? I think I have, but I still want to do it though.
Yeah, I'll pull it up. It's creepy. I'll give him that.
Oh
It's
yeah,
creepy, but
it's
I don't think
creepier
it's
than
real.
shit.
What's creepier than a white Bigfoot? Here
Yeah.
it is. Here's a picture of it. Let me see if I can get the short video of it. All right. Where is this thing? There's a thumbnail of it, but I think it's a. Hold on a second. Let me see if this is it. I don't think this is it, buddy. Let me see. No, this is definitely. Serious history to series. Right here it is. Oh, these are all like. All right, this is a video called "The 15 Most Convincing Bigfoot."
Okay.
But we'll. I'm trying to just skip forward to. All right. Let's go to. I'll send this video, and then go to the 11:40 mark. Okay, but I'll send it right now.
Okay.
All right. All right. We'll do this. It is creepy. This girl's saying how creepy it is. All right. It's two girls talking about how scary it is. Funny.
Oh yeah.
All right. I just sent it. You could see on the thumbnail. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. But go to the 11:40 mark. Is like around the 11:40 mark is where it is.
All right. Oh yeah.
It's creepy, dude, because it blinks at the camera. If you get a Bigfoot blinking at you, it's pretty creepy.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be like Gorilla Gwen.
Yeah, going. It's my car, Blinking at you. That's my car, That's my car, Lauren stealing another car. He's a beaut.
Like a lot.
He's too lazy to bring the
So I would
cops.
assume that
You
they
know
would
what I mean?
react to like.
I don't want to bring it back.
This is the other ones that. Okay, it just makes me laugh because I'm like, okay, this is like painful.
Hold on. I'm gonna mute the people and enter and
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
myself.
They don't seem like the most intuitive group. Listening to them, they kind of sound shitty, so I wouldn't. Some of these videos they have are pretty good, actually. I've seen some of them. Yeah, look at this thing, Falkor. The thing blinks and shit. Look at that.
Yeah.
I can't find the original video. Like I would love to have sent it to you.
Uh-huh.
I can't find it. Maybe next time you could find it. I don't know, but it's.
See, the only problem, man, this would be.
Look at it.
It almost looks like how I would like. It almost looks like a replica of like a Yeti.
Yeah, I hear you. No, I get it. It's what you would think it would, but there's in the other video I saw, dude, that eye blinks like it like blinks. I think they talk about it too, like the eye blinking. It's fucking crazy.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah, imagine running into that in the woods, though, brother.
Dude, I would shit my pants. Like
Yeah,
immediately.
That's no joke. Like, imagine not having a firearm and just running into this thing.
I would be literally like this, being like, please, for the love of God, is this thing real in front of me right now, or am I this fucked?
Dude, but my thing, like, other than trying to like figure out this Bigfoot stuff, is that I absolutely want to buy that property next to Lon's house.
Yeah.
and I just want different days of like crazy harassment. Like I want one day of like all of us like dressing up just like Lon, all wearing like earpieces and shit, and walking by his house. He's us all. We all have the same hair, the earpieces. He would lose his mind. All wearing those salmon tank tops and shit.
Naked and hiding in the woods, probably.
How great would that be? Like every day we would do.
Fantastic.
Every day, dude, we do something different. Every day.
Oh
We'd
yeah, we would get him to do something different every day.
Every day we'd
like
play his music.
Pure torture.
I would love it. He would lose his shit.
Yeah.
Like one day we just put a top up. Now we just put a top up around his place. We put a top up around it and shit. It'd be fucking funny.
Just copy off of Lord, basically.
Yeah, just everything he does, we do. You know what I mean? We'd be like that guy. Remember Dr. Phil? Remember Dr. Phil, that asshole went on the show and cut his hair just like Dr. Phil and shit? Remember that guy? The guy from Gun Fights? Oh, that cracks me up, dude. Gun Fight guy cracks me up.
A girl from Mars said, and screaming, you're killing us.
Yeah, exactly. Girl from Mars. That's perfect. Like, that's my dream right now, is to fucking buy that place and like every day harass him. Just harass the shit out of him.
I have something perfect for that too. I have a 600-watt speaker that comes with 2 microphones.
Are you shitting me? That's perfect.
It's beautiful. It's fantastic. The only problem is we need power.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah, we can figure it out. We could use
my
that
brother's
level
an
3 feet up above our ass.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. No, I'll listen. I'll get a band down there to play like his music that he plays. We will fuck with him, dude. It'll be awesome.
Dude, I would love mind fucking with this dude.
And we tape the whole thing. We'd make a DVD out of it.
Oh yeah, we would have to.
Oh yeah, fucking with Lon for 3 days
fantastic.
Straight. He'd call the cops on us the first day. It wouldn't even be 10 minutes.
Without a doubt. Within like the first half hour of getting together, it would be like immediate cops called. You're like, God damn it.
Yeah, he wouldn't even confront us. He wouldn't even be like, "What are you doing?" Or he would just call the authority.
He would be that much of a pussy then.
Yeah, that's exactly what he would do. He's a fucking asshole. Oh, it's so funny. We'd all have to get those tank tops and those shitty like jorts, those jean shorts, the jorts. We'd have to get those, and then like the little earpieces, and we have to like cut our hair like fucking bald. That'd be awesome.
Oh, you got it. Oh, you got it, A Girl from Mars. You know, I'll bust out singing Journey.
That's funny. I'm actually playing. I'm playing a gig tomorrow night at a bar. Like first time in like 2 years. Yeah, it's a little.
That's awesome, brother.
I haven't done it in a while, so I figured
That's pretty exciting.
I'd do it this weekend. So it's fun.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I'm gonna head to bed, buddy.
Yeah.
But,
I think I'm gonna follow you right behind you.
Yeah, I had fun, man. This was fun. We'll do it again, definitely. It was fun.
Yeah.
I find these like next time I'll tell you more about my shit in Boston. How's that?
Yeah.
We'll talk about.
Let's do that. About like you being a bookie
Yeah, we'll talk
and
about
all that.
Absolutely. I'll tell you how it happened, like how crazy it was. Talk to you about how how I lost all the money and had to work for them, and then I'll talk about the money I had under my bed and how my place got raided. We'll talk about that. It's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah.
So, it doesn't matter because I haven't done it in years. Like I've been out of it for like 10 years. So
That's awesome.
yeah. So I got the money for a bar and I got out of it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Hey, you know when the time's right.
yeah, I definitely we had like me and my partner had issues and like it was definitely the time to get out.
Yeah, fuck.
But yeah, we'll go over that. We'll do some other shit. It'll be fun.
Yeah, brother.
All right, man. And thanks for having me on. And good night, everybody. And
Yeah, good night, everyone.
I'll jump on when you're back on here. I'll talk to you on Discord or whatever, brother.
Yeah, sounds good, brother.
All right. Later, bro.
See ya, brother. Thanks for coming on.
No problem.
All right, y'all. I'm actually going to play one more video
For
Mr. Ballin, and then we'll call it a night, y'all. How about that?
At least 2 seconds.
How about that? All right. Oh, shit.
And so what I did is I went out and found 2 of the most frightening encounters with Bigfoot, and I'm going to share those stories on today's video. But before we get into those 2 stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right channel, because that's all I do, and I upload 3, 4, even 5 times every week. If that's of interest to you, I would encourage you to steal the like button's phone and turn off all of their alarms so they're late for work tomorrow. Also, please subscribe to my channel and turn on all notifications.
Cash me outside, how about that?
So you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's stories. In July of 1924, Fred Beck, along with 4 other gold prospectors, stumbled out of a forest right near Mount St. Helens in Washington state. And they swore to each other that they would not tell a soul what they had seen in the mountains the night before. But literally within a few hours of making that promise to each other, one of the men had spilled the beans at a bar. Very quickly, their story would garner major national media attention and even drew some international attention as well. This is their story. So the week leading up to the men arriving back in town with this crazy story, they had been prospecting for gold in an area they were very accustomed to working in. In fact, for the past 6 years, they had been going to this spot. So it was an area they knew well. And so this particular week that they were out there had been really successful. They had found a whole bunch of gold. It was like this great run of luck and nobody wanted to leave. Unfortunately, one of the men named Fred Beck started complaining of a really bad toothache. Now, they're about 2 miles away from this town. It's very rugged terrain. It's not safe for someone to travel alone in case something were to happen. And so Fred needed one or all of these men to come back with him. None of them wanted to leave, but they were willing to compromise. And they said, let's stay here today and then we'll leave first thing tomorrow morning. And so Fred didn't really have much of a choice, and so he agreed, and they spent the rest of the day prospecting for gold. When the sun started to go down, the men decided it was time to pack it in and head to their cabin. Now, because these men had worked in this area for the past 6 years, they had actually built a small log cabin centrally located in this area so they could just crash out there and continue to work and not need to commute out of the town. The cabin, though, was not built for comfort. It was built entirely for practicality. It was barely big enough to sleep all 5 men, and in fact, 2 of them had to sleep in the same bed, like right against one another, and then the other 3 had to sleep on the ground. There were no windows in this cabin. It was like this awful chamber that they were trapped inside of, but it was sturdy, it protected them from the elements, and it was enough because they were out there for work, not for pleasure. So as they're walking towards their tiny little cabin, they get just outside the cabin and notice a very large footprint, like an animal print, outside the cabin. The men stop, they look down. Now, these are 5 rugged mountain men that are accustomed to being out in the wild. They've had their fair share of run-ins with large predators, and so they quickly said, oh, that's a bear print. But upon closer inspection, as they're looking at this print, they noticed it was 19 inches long. That's way too big to be a bear print. And so they start speculating about what type of animal could make that print. As they're speculating, one of the men brings up that over the course of the week when he had been away from the group, a little ways away from the cabin, he had noticed a similar, not nearly as big, but a similar print. And when he had bent down to look at the print and inspect it to see what it was, he said he heard a whistling sound coming from the forest that was right next to him. And so he stood up and he looked, but he didn't see where the whistling was coming from. And he thought to himself, I don't know what animal makes that sound. So he's looking out, he can't see where the whistling's coming from, and then he hears whistling behind him. The same sound, but on the opposite side of him. And he turns around and he looks, and there's nothing over there as well. And he's trying to put together in his head what animal makes that sound. He knows it's not the people he's out there with because they were way over near the cabin and he could actually see them from where he was. And he starts getting this really uneasy feeling that whatever made this huge print is probably in the woods right now watching me, whistling at me. And so he abandons the print and heads back to camp, but was too embarrassed to bring the story up to the group in fear that they would think he was exaggerating, so he never brought it up. When this guy tells this story to the group, Fred Beck would say, that's weird, I heard whistling coming from the forest too. I thought it was you guys. They figured they were dealing with a large predator. They decide that it's in their best interest to forego a campfire outside the cabin, which they normally would do at night, and instead just go right inside the cabin and shut the door because they don't know what animals are out here and they want to play it safe. So they're sitting inside their windowless little dark cabin and they start feeling pretty hungry. And they decide they want to boil some water to make food, but they don't have any water. Normally, when any of these guys went out to fetch water, they would go by themselves. The spring was not very far away from their cabin. They just walk out, scoop some water up, and come back. But because they were all feeling pretty uneasy, and they didn't know what this big animal was that was in their general vicinity, Fred, along with one of the other men, whose name was Hank, decide to go together, and to bring their rifles just in case. Fred and Hank begin walking over to the stream that was only about 100 meters away from where they were. The moon was out, so there was a little bit of light coming from that, but it was mostly dark. And they're walking over to this stream. Then all of a sudden, Hank stops and raises his rifle up at the side of this embankment that was totally forested all the way up the side of the valley. Fred looks where Hank is aiming, and immediately he can tell what he's looking at. Standing a couple 100 meters up this mountain is this creature that's...
Platty, holy hell. Wow, that's crazy, man.
Very tall, standing on 2 legs. It appears to be hair.
Wow, it was like I'm assuming you weren't able to see, like, get a glimpse or anything, Platty.
That's poking its head around a tree and it's looking at them. They could only see it because the moon was casting light directly on it, so it was totally illuminated. As soon as Fred recognizes what they're looking at, the creature ducks back behind the tree. At the same time, Hank fires 3 shots in its general direction, and then there's silence. And then all of a sudden it comes barreling out from behind the tree and is running straight down the mountain towards them while whistling over its shoulder, looking like it's communicating with something behind it. Hank starts firing in its direction. It's clearly not striking this creature, but at some point the creature disappears. They don't know where it went. It's dark out. The only way they could see it before was because the moonlight happened to illuminate it. Now they don't know where it is. Fred and Hank abandon the water idea and they run right back to the cabin. They jump inside, shut the door, and they start barricading the door shut. The other men are like, what the heck is going on? And they start explaining what happened. They didn't know if it was a person or if it was this creature. They heard that whistling sound. All the guys are spooked. And now they're barricaded inside of this tiny cabin, and it's totally dark. There's no windows, so they can't even see what's going on outside of the cabin. And so they just had to sit there and hope that this creature does not come anywhere near them. After a long period of total silence, the men start to feel like, okay, whatever that was, it's not coming back. It's late at night. Let's just try to get some sleep. And so the men all lay down and eventually doze off to sleep. Then at some point in the middle of the night, something smashes into the side of the cabin, causing them all to wake up. Hank's yelling out because a piece of wood that actually made up the cabin had come loose from whatever had hit the side of the cabin and fallen onto him. So the group gets up. There's a little bit of light coming through this now, a little crack in the wall from where this wood plank came out. They can see what's happening now. There's a little bit of light inside. They run over, they get this plank off of Hank, and as they're trying to kind of make sense of this chaotic moment, they start hearing what sounds like lots of people running around the outside of their cabin. Hank, who was closest to this little slat that had been created from one of the planks falling out, just turns his head.
Wow, Plenty, that's a very interesting story.
Had to look out the slat. Because of the moon, there was a little bit of illumination, and when he looked out, he was horrified because he saw 3 creatures, these tall, ape-like creatures, the same one that Fred and Hank had been shooting at up over at the valley before. They're standing 10-15 meters away from the cabin, standing upright, looking at the cabin. They're holding these small boulders in their hands. And as Hank is looking through the slat, he's trying to get a little bit...
Did you notice the woods quiet? I'm just curious. I'm not trying to be. I'm just very curious.
Closer to get a better look.
If you noticed before then, while in the creek,
one of the creatures bends down and sees that Hank is looking at him, and he winds up and he throws the boulder and it smashes against this little slat. Hank basically falls over because he's trying to avoid this boulder being thrown at him, but the slat was small enough that it didn't go through. Hank's telling the rest of the men that there's 3 of them. There's 3 of them. They're right there. The men are grabbing their rifles. They're getting ready to aim out of the slat to try to take a shot at one of these creatures. But by the time they have a sight picture, there's no one out there, except they hear these footsteps and they start hearing whistling coming from the other sides of the cabin where they have no way of seeing what's going on because there's no windows and that gap in the cabin was only facing one way. And so they just sit there in silence as they hear all this whistling and footsteps and shuffling happening outside of their cabin. Then all of a sudden they hear slamming against the one door that leads into the cabin. They had barricaded the door already, so they go up and they're pressing back against the barricade as whatever is outside is trying to break into the cabin, but it can't get through the barricade. When they couldn't break in the front door, there was a barrage of these boulders smashing into the cabin. Now, these men had built the cabin. They knew it was sturdy, but they didn't know if it could withstand boulders hitting it. And so for hours, these rocks and boulders are smashing into the cabin. They never see them again through that slat. They kept periodically looking and there was never any creatures that were on that side. It was like the creatures knew that they could be seen on that side but couldn't be seen elsewhere. Finally, it just stops and they sit down in the middle of the cabin. Fred was sitting in such a way that he could actually see the slat in the cabin that was now open and exposed. And as he's sitting there, Fred is horrified when he sees a hand slide into the cabin. A hairy, big ape hand that reaches in and starts fumbling around, grabs hold of an axe that was leaning up against the inside of the cabin. And as it's getting ready to pull it out, Fred runs over and twists the axe so it won't slide through the slat. And so the creature's slamming the axe, trying to get it out at the same time that Hank takes a shot and shoots right through the slat. The creature releases it and runs away. They hear all this whistling very close to their cabin, which made them realize that they had just been quietly waiting outside of their cabin. They had never left. But after Hank had taken that shot at the thing's hand, it sounded like almost a stampede was running away off into the forest. And at that point, the group was fairly certain that it was done. The next morning, when they saw through that slat in their cabin that the sun had finally come up, the men packed only the bare necessities. They got their weapons. When they finally opened up that door, All over the ground, all around the cabin, were these rocks that clearly had been thrown at the cabin. The cabin itself had obviously withstood the barrage, but there was gash marks and slashes all over it. Feeling very lucky, the men start making their way out of the valley, and they make their way all the way back to town. And after the story kind of went viral, loads of people went out there to try to find these creatures, but no one ever could.
That's wild.
In December of 1981, Mike Woolley decided he wanted to go deer hunting in his hometown in Louisiana. It was a cold day, it was great conditions for a hunt, and Mike had a deer stand that was set up about 1.5 miles down this old logging road that no one really used. He would take his truck and he would drive about halfway down that road, and then he'd get out and he would walk the remaining, half mile, 3/4 of a mile to his deer stand, because if he drove his truck in, he would scare away all the deer. He made it to his deer stand by about 3 p.m. that day, and he'd only been there for about 30 minutes when all of a sudden this young doe comes running across and stops right in front of his deer stand. The doe lays down and is clearly exhausted, and Mike would say that it looked like something was chasing it, and he assumed it was some huge buck. And so Mike's getting ready for this big buck to emerge when out of the corner of his eye, he sees something pretty big jump out of a tree.
That is something that you do see deer hunt every now and then, especially during when the run is heavy. Good Lord, those does feel sorry for them.
He kind of turns his head and looks, and it's not a buck. It looked like a gorilla. He thought, okay, a gorilla must have gotten out of the zoo. But then he's thinking to himself, there isn't a zoo around here, and there's no circus around here, so it can't be an escaped gorilla. And then he was like, okay, someone must have put on a gorilla suit to stop me from deer hunting. They're out here to try to get me to leave this spot. They're anti-deer hunting, and so they're here to screw with me. And so Mike, believing that was the case, he starts yelling to them, take off your mask. This isn't okay. This isn't funny. I have a license to be here. You can't be here. You need to leave. Get out of here. And so this thing that he believes is a person wearing a gorilla suit just completely does not react. It's just standing looking at him. And it's about 15 or 20 meters away from him at this time, and it's just staring at him. It's on 2 legs. Mike starts to feel uneasy because he's thinking to himself, if this is somebody in a gorilla suit that's trying to get me to leave, wouldn't they right now announce that and say, you need to leave? They wouldn't just stand there doing nothing. And so Mike, even though he knew it was going to probably escalate the situation, raises up his rifle in the direction of this person to use his scope, to basically zoom in on this person and get a better look. And when he raises his rifle and he zooms in, he immediately knows that this is not a person wearing a mask. Steam was coming off of its face like it had been running. It was 30 degrees outside. And he said he could see its nostrils flaring like it was out of breath, or that perhaps it was angry. He didn't know. Even though it wasn't a person wearing a mask, it looked...
Yeah, girl from Mars, you're like a half a world away.
Very human-like, because it had human teeth, flat teeth. It had, he said, human eyelashes.
I could time travel over to you.
And just the general structure of its face appeared to be human. And he thought to himself,
it's kind of creepy.
Is this a feral human? Is that possible? Is this a person that has been born and raised in the wild? And so as he's pointing the weapon at this creature, looking through the scope, just totally dumbfounded. Mike has no intention of shooting at this point. He really just wanted to stare at it. The creature roars, and Mike describes it as like a lion's roar. This thing was suddenly really upset with Mike. And Mike believed later on that it was because he raised his weapon at this thing. As soon as it roars, Mike said that about 100 meters in the other direction, he hears this really loud, piercing whistle coming through the forest. As soon as that whistle comes through the forest, the creature that was still growling stops and turns its head in the direction of this whistle. And it whistles back. And so Mike, the hair on the back of his neck is standing up. He knows they're communicating, probably about him. And as he's realizing this, he lowers his weapon and he's looking at the creature in front of him who's whistling and looking in the direction of this way. And then that creature snaps back and looks right at Mike. And as he's wondering what he should do next, another creature walks out of the tree line and stands right next to the first creature. And the way it walked, it was walking like a human. It was on 2 legs. And they're both standing about 20 meters away looking directly at Mike. Mike is terrified, and he would say that he knew that he had to make a run for it. And so he leaps from his stand and starts running towards his truck, which is about a half mile away. And he said as soon as he did, he could tell that one of them at least started sprinting after him. and he looked over his shoulder as he's running towards the logging road, and he sees that one of the creatures is running parallel to him, easily running as fast as he is. It's choosing to stay, 5-10 meters away from him, but running in step with him the whole way. It's like it's forcing him to leave the forest. And so Mike is running, waiting to get attacked by this creature. He finally gets to his truck, he clambers inside and shuts the doors, and he looks out of his window and he sees the creature just standing there looking at him from the trees. He looks in his rear view and he sees that the other creature had also been running after him on the logging road, that the two of them had basically herded him to his car. It was an intelligent move. Mike believes that because he raised his weapon at that first creature, that triggered a series of events that led to them chasing him out of the woods. He said that he was the aggressor, not the other way around. We don't know if either of those stories are true, but certainly they are terrifying. So I'd love to get your reaction to these two stories in the comments. Are these total fabrications, or is there some truth to Bigfoot? And these stories are just evidence of that. If you enjoyed today's story and you want to hear more like it, I would encourage you, if you haven't already, to steal the like button's phone and turn off all their alarms so they're late for work tomorrow. Also, subscribe to this channel.
Anyway, speaking of getting to work, I am calling it a night, y'all. I love you guys. Thank you guys for all the support and all the love, y'all. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, bell, all that good jazz. If you want to go to the Discord, my link is in the description. And big shout out to Lauren's Only Working Luck for stopping by tonight on stream. That was a great time. Had a lot of fun. It was always good to have him on stream. We get into it a lot. Like, we have a lot of fun chats. And, yeah, y'all. Again, thanks for stopping by. I'm taking a break tomorrow. So I will see y'all. I don't know when, but I will let y'all know, though. Maybe Sunday. But we'll see. Love you guys. See you guys. I am going to bed. See you guys. Night.
Every Friday night there's a steady cloud of dust that leads back to a field filled with pickup trucks. Got old Hank cranking way up loud. Got coolers in the back, tailgates down. There's a big fire burning, but don't be alarmed. It's just country boys and girls getting down on the farm. It's been on a tractor, ain't seen Becky all week. Somebody said they seen them headed down to the creek. Farmer Johnson's daughters just pulled up in a Jeep. Man, he knows how to grow them, if you know what I mean. Oh, Dave's getting loud, but he don't mean no harm. We're just country boys and girls getting down on the farm. You can have a lot of fun in a New York minute, but there's some things you can't do inside those city limits. Ain't no closing time, ain't no cover charge, just country boys and girls getting down on the farm. Well, you can come as you are, there ain't no dress code, just some route rules that you need to know. Don't mess with the bull, he can get real mean. Don't forget to shut the gate, stay out of the beans. If it starts to raining, we'll just head to the barn. We're country boys and girls getting down on the farm. You can have a lot of fun in a New York minute, but there's some things you can't do inside those city limits. Ain't no closing time, ain't no cover charge, just country boys and girls getting down on the farm. Ain't no closing time, ain't no cover charge, just country boys and girls getting down on the farm. Oh, let's get down, y'all.
stay out of that hay.